It's all true.
It's so true. That's the thing. Hi everybody! Hi. Welcome. We are once again reduced, or perhaps you could say refined, to our base component, which is a color.
It's true.
And a single shape. Because we're going to continue Thomas Was Alone today! There's two, I think it's two, side stories that we have to play. That I don't think I ever played before, to my recollection. Yeah. Also, Clown writes, now, thank you very much for following. I love your name.
Why? It's a great name.
Dude, today, this is so stupid. I reblogged a little art post today on Tumblr of two Jester Princess Yuri girls. And for some reason, even though there wasn't anything not safe for work about it, it was flagged as not safe for work. And having reblogged it, my entire account got flagged for not safe for work. Can you fucking believe that shit? So stupid.
Crazy.
Totally sucks.
It's true.
Yeah. Luckily, there are good people in there. Anyway, hi everybody. I am Josephine Gauntlet Queen. I'm a variety artist. No, that's not how I said the order I say things in. I'm a variety streamer and a variety artist who uses my variety of art skills to create a variety of models. Wow.
I make one thing.
That's not true. You make everything. There's
It's
nothing
true.
you
I've
can't
also...
make.
Honestly, straight up.
Yeah, dude. No, it's
I
for
make
real.
everything these days.
No, fucking for real. I'm serious.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
Oh yeah, well you are a very praiseworthy person.
No, I do too.
And also very nice.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Oh, thank you. You too. Why don't you tell the audience who you are?
I'm Punkit is here. Not my, it's I guess my full legal name. Because somebody else took Punkit, which you
what
you
the
messaged
hell?
me about earlier. Yeah, it's
Someone
like some
else
NFT,
on Tumblr.
dude.
What, NFT?
Yeah.
What?
On,
No
like,
way. Come on.
I'm for real. I'm for real.
Sucks.
Yeah, so I have Punkit, but luckily Punkit is here is a viable title, so I took that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm Punkit is here. You may know me from Forever Weed Brownie. I made that comic. I recently got recognized IRL for that, which was very funny.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I occasionally stream about like once or twice a month at this rate, but I think it's fun. I do it when I want to. I make art. I got games in production. Yeah, I'm a cool lady.
Extremely so.
Extremely so.
Everybody go check out Mason.
Please, hi!
Yay, hi! I'm just gonna wait like 5 seconds. Okay. And then I can change the playlist.
Yippee!
Ooh.
Yeah,
Oh, let's go.
Ooh.
Yeah, baby.
Kind of a
Sonic and
banger.
Sega All-Stars Racing.
Nice. Yeah, I went to a fucking, like, they're gonna make my hometown a transgender sanctuary, so I was like, oh,
We're being
which I
rated.
was pretty psyched about.
Sorry, hold on, we're being rated. Hello, Jackie and your viewers. Hi. We're rectangles today. Skeleton curse. I don't think we
I
can
don't
have
have a skeleton.
skeletons.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if we had armatures, we would have a single bone. A single bone does not count, does not a skeleton make, I don't think.
I'm just imagining one cartoon bone down the middle of each rectangle.
Yeah. Anyway, hi. How was you guys?
Hello.
How was the blender stuff? Did you manage to do so good? Like in Among Us, I was thinking like there is like a cartoon or whatever where there is like a character with a single bone. It's Among Us. Yeah.
I do love that bit. I do. They are really funny for that bit, honestly.
Yeah, honestly. 6 hours, girly. I hope you took breaks, and I hope you're gonna take a good break now. Nearly done though. Great. Should even be animation ready tomorrow. Oh shit.
Ooh.
But maybe you've been at it. Maybe you need to give yourself a little daisy break, you know? But you know, do what you think is best, I suppose. But good job. You could rig the rectangle with a few bones. You could, but the thing is that we're Thomas alone characters right now, and they only have like a single bone worth of movement. They just have a stretch and squash. They don't have any bending or anything.
It's true.
Yeah. So we would only have one little bone.
One little bone.
One little bone. For now I must eat and watch you do square things. That's so true. Nice. Anyway.
This is all correct.
Mason, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say they're gonna make my hometown a transgender sanctuary, which is cool as fuck.
What? That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so it basically means that, like, people are like, oh, it's just like a symbolic thing, but it basically means like they have to adhere to the fact that they are not allowed to like federally enforce any sort of like transgender like bans or whatever. Mm-hmm. So like, which I think is cool as fuck. Very cool to have. I think all towns should have that. Mm-hmm. So I showed up there, and we were like, there's so many people there that there was like an overflow into the mayor's office, and you know somebody comes out from their speech on like the break that we had, and I compliment them on their speech, and they go from their like hour, and then I'm sitting outside the town hall, and this person walks up and they go, hey, sorry, this is a weird question, do you have a Tumblr? Yeah, what's it called? Punk it? I follow you.
That's fun. Hell yeah.
It was very surreal, but I was like, yippee! I suppose if I was gonna be recognized anywhere. It's been so there fun. And like at a gay bar and then at a transgender like furry rave. So
hell yeah. I've had it once. I was at the Efteling, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. And they didn't someone recognized me. They didn't approach me. They just sent me a Tumblr as like, hey, I saw you at the Efteling today. You looked really good. Which is really funny too.
There's graffiti of a sign that somebody just wrote like penis on or something like that, and I was like, oh well, I'm waiting for my tire to get fixed. I got nothing, so I set up a photo of me like posing next to that. And then I got a Tumblr message from somebody that was like, hey, I was driving by and I saw you doing this, I think. Was that you? And I was like, oh fuck, I'm being perceived.
What the fuck? What are the fucking odds?
What are the odds?
That's so funny.
Yeah. Oh man, the rest of my life is gonna be like this. Hopefully, I think it's funny as hell.
It's so fucking funny. You know, it's like I feel like as you know, you hear about being recognized in public and you're like, wow, that is such a cool thing, and then it happens, you're like, that's fucking hilarious.
It's always funny. It's always
so
funny. What the fuck do you mean me like shitposting on Tumblr has effects on my real life? That's crazy. Huh?
Yeah.
I was walking out from like a gay bar with my girlfriend, and I'm like ready to head home because I'm really tired and like it was hot in there, and I was like kind of annoyed at like how like packed it was, and I'm like ready to walk home, and I hear somebody as I turn my back and walk away go across the fucking like sidewalk, and I went, oh fuck, I'm being perceived.
Oh no.
They were super sweet. Apparently it was somebody who like knew my girlfriend, but like for a minute there I was like, I'm in hell. They found me.
I have to hide.
I'm like ever so slightly drunk and I have to do public interfacing now. Fuck.
Oh no. Oh dude, wait, I was telling Mason about the tumultuous week that I had and also started this week.
Yeah.
The thing I forgot to tell you was that yesterday aside from my dad getting me a new capture card, which is huge, my sister and her girlfriend bought me a big bottle of alcoholic apple cider, also, which is the only alcoholic beverage that I enjoy, and they just bought me a massive bottle, I don't know, for no reason, and cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice. It's like a
Just
real
big,
fuck.
just a big bottle.
Because they were just at an orchard, and it's like a real nice bottle with one of those like special. It's like a reusable cork. Does that make sense? No. Yeah, maybe.
No, I know what you mean. I think.
And they're like attached to the bottle with like a metal thing.
Yeah.
I don't know terms for
I'm
things.
envisioning this in my head.
Yeah.
I
You got
don't
it.
even know terms for things. You can simply exist.
Yeah,
Who cares?
it's fine. Anyway, I just thought that was so nice. I have a nice family.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That fucking rocks.
yeah. Anyway, let's get to it and stuff. First, there's a city.
Oh yeah. I should get some water next to me. That'd be nice.
Do you have anything to sip right now?
No, I'm not actually somebody who has a bottle on them.
You gotta have something to sip.
You know what? I'm gonna grab a little big glass of water. One second. Be
You
right
do
back.
that. I'll do eggs.
Yeah.
See you soon. Alright, everybody, remember, if you have but one little point, you can already I'm doing like the gestures with my hand, like you can see my hands, but you can't because I don't have hands today. Anyway, if you have but one little point, you can spend it on an egg, and we're gonna stack all the eggs up on the left side of the screen together to show our unity. And the first egg of the day comes to us from Vex Fidel. Polar Stars. Esteemed Jester. Celestial Lantern. Captivity. Lucina of Stardust. KQ Gray. Oops. And Mecha Fox Girl. Thank you guys for the starting eggs. So, while we still wait for Mason, I will talk about the game we're going to play. If you guys didn't see the previous stream of Thomas Was Alone, it is a little indie game from, I'm gonna say, 2013? Maybe? About a little rectangle called Thomas who was alone. But then he starts finding friends, and they go on this whole journey together through the cyberspace, because you see they are all little abstract representations of AIs inside a computer. They all form their personalities, and they have their little quirks and the ways they differ from each other, and they find unity in their differences, and it's really, really beautiful. It's a beautiful little story, and in the end, they do something great for all artificial entities in the computer together. It's beautiful. Thomas Was Alone. I remember playing this back on the Wii U of all places. I didn't even know it was on any other consoles. That's actually very interesting. I just played it on PC. And it was really in those early days of indie games. That is to say, indie games is like a thing that would be called indie games. Welcome back, Mason.
Hello.
Hello.
I decided to put on a nice new fresh crisp pair of new jeans for the stream.
Very good.
Nobody's ever got new jeans, but I've been blessed today because my mom said they didn't fit, so they're mine now.
Nice. Dude, I am looking at your rectangular representation. You are wearing those jeans so good.
I am wearing those jeans so good. I need to make this now.
You should. Also, we have to go room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck. I haven't done this voice in a while.
Oh, it'll be okay. You can do it.
It'll be okay. Oh, I got it.
I believe in you.
I don't.
That's okay. Anime quote. Anime quote. Sound off in chat if you understand that joke. I guess.
There's something fun about going back to these old days of indie games. Like recently I got into VVVVV. VVVVV is in this game for like a second also, which is fun.
It really is. And
Yeah.
you know what? That's a fucking banger. I love Terry Cavanaugh.
Absolutely, dude. Fantastic soundtrack.
Great, yeah. Fantastic soundtrack. Weirdly enough, not a composer that he uses much anymore. It was like only for VVV, which is kind of wild.
That is interesting.
Fascinating experience.
I was gonna look at what else he's developed, so I searched for VVV, and one of the things that popped up in my Steam library is Vivid Lope, if you know that.
Oh, I know Vivid Lope. I've been meaning to play that for forever.
Oh, it's so cute. It's really fun and cute.
looks-
It is such like a wacky little Japan-only PS2 game. It's so fucking fun.
It straight up matches that vibe so well. I'm deeply impressed by the way it looks.
Oh, they don't share a composer.
Also,
No.
soundtrack?
I searched for
Banger.
VVV in my soundtrack, in my Steam library, and it popped up. Would be crazy if they shared composer though. Also, Purveyor
Oh,
Arcade,
yeah.
as well as earlier. Oh no, wait, I already said thanks to Clown Rights now. Purveyor Arcade, thank you very much for following. But let me see what else Terry has done. There's literally a game called Terry's Other Games. That's so funny.
That's yeah. I heard about that compilation. I think that's funny as fuck.
That's so good.
I should do that with Punkett's other comics.
Oh, dude, real. Oh, the Dicey Dungeons. Cute.
Yeah, that's crazy that he did it. They look so different.
Yeah, really.
I'm gonna send you
Extremely,
something.
like,
Hold
compared
on.
to even, like, Terry's other games, Super Hexagon and VVVVV.
Yeah. I think the VVVV source code is available, which was really bold of him to do.
Oh, that's cool. Oh. It also has
I
a
hope you
level
enjoyed this
editor. I don't
image.
remember that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember because all the levels were available on the 3DS port. And fucking Notch made one.
Oh.
It was before he was a shithead.
Yeah, no, I assumed as much.
It's like it's so funny because you can't say that because he used to be like, oh, gender fluid Steve. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right?
I feel bad that I gave him a masculine name.
Isn't that weird?
And you're like, what the fuck happened to you, dude?
What happened?
Oh man, money changes you, man.
Yeah,
Fucked
no,
up.
seriously. Having a candy room changes you.
Having a cereal room in your mansion where it all goes stale changes you for the worse. Lucky.
Lucky.
That's what California does to people. Real.
Oh god. I'm so glad I'm far
Nobody's
away
gone
from
to
that shit.
California. Yeah, nobody's gone to California and gotten out of it a better person.
I thought they were all dreaming over there. California
Well,
dreaming.
they are dreaming. It's true. As somebody who got a film degree, every single professor was like, move to LA for 9 months and then move back out. And I was like, I'm not doing that. Like, LA's expensive and I don't like it there.
Why do you think they moved back out again? It was too expensive and they didn't like it there.
Yeah, like you said move to LA, but you're teaching me right now in fucking the middle of nowhere, Washington. Why didn't you stay there, bud? That's crazy. I can't imagine it's because that city fucking sucks.
Imagination Inc., thank you very much for following. And Zero Elec,
thank you.
for your egg. And give Derek a hat of Mason's choice.
Ooh. You know what?
Hmm?
What's the happiest hat Derek could wear?
The happiest hat.
Oh, I was
Well-
just listening to fucking Rush
Oh,
earlier.
dude. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I've been
well,
blasting
they're-
Namaguchi in my car.
They're like next to each other. I'd say it's one of these two.
Let's see here. I'm gonna go Froggy. I'm gonna go Froggy.
Okay.
Froggy hat for Derek.
Good for Derek. Good for Derek.
Good for Derek. I just realized your Sonas. You made your Sonas Thomas was hair rectangles. That's correct. Yeah. We
That's
usually
true.
look much more. I'm gonna say defined than this. We have other Sonas, but you know
Just
we're
like barely.
yeah. Don't sell yourself short. The one you were using before was very, very nice. Really like solid line art on that one.
Oh, thank you. I'm very happy with it. I made it for the transgender rights stream I did back in January.
Oh yeah.
That's why I got the trans rights T-shirt.
Yeah. Very, very good. All right. What say you we get into the game?
Let's do it. My beloved friend Josephine, let us make Thomas not that alone.
Well, my dearly beloved Mason friend, I think this takes place after the game, so.
Fuck. Solemnly walks out the window, but gravity doesn't affect me, so I just kind of walk in space.
Yeah, that's your special power as a Thomas Was Alone character.
Yeah, gravity doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
Also, yes, that is me. I am Punkit.
Mm-hmm.
I kept my name because I like it and I think it fits me the best.
It's a good one. Let's see if I do a new game.
It's a good one.
Nope. I don't want to restart the one.
I was doing a little bit of reading. The green rectangle, I forget his name, but
Jason or something.
The creator was like, "Yeah, if the game had gone a little longer, I think I would have made him gay."
Yo, let's go!
Which I think is a really funny way to confirm a character's sexuality.
Yeah, honestly, like he would have realized it, but it just wasn't enough time in the game.
Yeah, honestly, if you gave me like another couple hours, he'd probably have a crush on Thomas. Let's be real.
Yeah.
All right, hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, your game was already too long, but okay.
Yeah, it did have that extra hour we weren't expecting.
Yeah. Like, if you haven't seen the other stream, we love this game. It's absolute darling, but it overstays its welcome just a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, Derek is a friend.
Yeah.
He likes
Derek
to
is a
chill.
wonderful friend.
What did you say?
I said Derek is a wonderful friend.
Yeah. Right, so I think... I feel like this was the last stuff we did, right? And then this is... Yeah, because I only have the 0.1 available.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Let's go!
Let's do it. I'm genuinely really excited.
Long before Thomas AT-22. Oh, it does take place before 612. There were other AIs. There were prototypes, tests. We were shocked when one amongst thousands developed a powerful trait. Oh.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
Oh man. We're back in it. I forgot how nice the soundtrack is for this game.
Yeah.
Between the rocks. If they moved fast enough, they could probably see the fountain before darkness fell. Benjamin had brought sandwiches especially.
How can you have sandwiches?
They had no crusts. Benjamin's father insisted on that. They were meticulously crafted, packed away in neat boxes. For as many cycles as he could remember, Benjamin had made the climb with his father. Every time, the glow felt closer, more tangible. Benjamin hoped that one day, he'd be able to reach out and touch it.
Aww.
This is already so sweet.
And there's no crust in the sandwiches. Which, as an adult, I fucking love crust on my sandwich, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, same. I like the stability that they provide, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, my 401k sandwich. You think the father sinks? Oh wait, no, the water's evil, I forgot.
Yep. There was I definitely just died there to show what would
test
happen.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
Natural curiosity.
Yeah. Which is nice to the cat.
Natural curiosity has always been super friendly to the cat, honestly.
They get along swimmingly.
Curiosity and the cat, they are best buds, and nothing bad has ever happened.
1,831 cycles later. Damn,
I sure hope his father's okay.
Yeah, I can't help but notice that his father isn't here.
Benjamin ran. His father had sent word that it was ready, that it was actually done.
Okay.
Okay, his father's okay. I'm so happy.
Alright, chill. Man, that's some stinky looking water.
Yeah, was it always like that? Did it always have the smoke coming off of it?
I don't think so. I'm thinking about Claire.
Yeah.
There
the
had
one
been a
Claire
few
was here.
misfires. Benjamin had seen the rectangle who'd tested Mark 26. More of a trapezium now.
Oh my goodness.
That's not supposed to happen.
Oh, just barely swoosed it.
No.
You know, between this and horse race test, I'm understanding why people get really attached to extremely simple AI-based games.
Honestly, though.
Jade found out about horse race test like a week ago, and then within about 12 hours, she was obsessively drawing like all of them and like keeping me up to date.
Oh my god.
Really delightful.
I haven't really taken a real close look at it, but I just enjoy the phenomenon of it so much, you know?
And yeah,
like,
same.
like kind of from the outside. What is it again? Like the orange one, was that one called again?
Jovial Merriment.
Jovial I was thinking Jubilant Merriment. It's like that's not right. Jovial
That's
Merriment.
pretty good. Jubilant's a good one though. I had this wonderful time where.
Sorry,
I was hanging out in the
are you saying Jubilant's a good one because you like the word, or because that's a different one?
just because I like the word.
Oh, okay,
I would
cool.
absolutely believe it's a different horse though.
Uh-huh.
I love that. I was in a call with Ivy and Jade and some other friends, and Ivy just like randomly made slug race test, which is just horse race test but with slugs, and they all have like stats called like ennui and like fear and rage and shit like that. and she made it in like an hour, and then after that, the entire call was us doing actual horse racing bets and going yeah for like our favorite slugs.
Oh my god.
The world can be so beautiful, honestly.
That's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah.
I just think it's so fucking awesome that someone, I assume, went, what if the DVD logo, but...
Yeah. I find it both hilarious and painfully fitting how quickly the thought process went to the father's god. He's probably dead. Yeah, that's this kind of game.
Yeah, real though. Oh, whoa. What?
Father
Power
in the box.
jetpack, do it. How do I...
Power jetpack!
How do I do it?
Dude!
Whoa!
Your dad's built different.
The sun, he has it.
Holy
That's awesome.
shit. It's Icarus and Daedalus.
Oh fuck, it is Icarus and Daedalus. Oh damn, you figured it out. Also, Imagination Inc., thank you for the egg.
Julian Merriman is a great name for a horse. I really am a big fan of the name Special Week for a horse.
The
Special Week is beautiful. I love Special Week. I also love Platoon.
Benjamin's father motioned to the
I
suspicious
love
boy, told him
Badoo.
to fly to them. Slowly though.
Big fan of Gold Ship.
That's also good. Also, for those who don't know, Patoo, the joke with Patoo is that it's potatoes. So it's hot. Oh. Patoo.
Yeah, it's pot 8 O's.
Yeah. It's so
I
funny.
recently learned about that from my friend Ken, and I fucking died laughing.
It's so fucking funny.
It's such a good bit. I named my slug Also Ran, which is a
Benjamin
real
ignored, of
racing
course,
term.
hitting the sequence as quickly as possible. He was dying to test this out properly, to fly to the fountain.
Dude, that is so Icarus.
It is so Icarus. A tale that has famously ended quite well for the people involved.
Yeah! I can't wait for both of these people to be totally okay.
Yeah. Brooklyn Supreme, the largest
yeah.
horse in history. Holy fuck! I gotta look this guy up. Oh my god!
Hold on, let me look him up too.
Yeah, hold on. You gotta look up Brooklyn Supreme.
Haven't seen him in a while. That's a fucking big ass horse, dude.
That's a big ass fucking horse.
It's stupid big, and it's just such a fucking muscle mass. It's so funny.
Oh my god. You already feel when you are next to a horse, you already feel extremely small. Next to that thing, I would feel like I was experiencing like megafauna straight up.
No, actually. Oh, it can be that big. My word! By Talos!
How large is he? Big as hell.
Big as hell! Oh, that's a big lad!
Yeah, the fucking horse owners, when that thing came out, they were like, surely the horse can't be. Oh my word!
Martha, it looks like our horse has given birth to an adult horse.
Martha, I believe there's been a mistake. We were supposed to get a filly. This here is a damn stallion.
We're supposed to get a little bit baby horse.
Surely he can only be named after the biggest city of all, Brooklyn. I like hanging out with you, Zoe.
What did you say?
I said I like hanging out with you, Zoe.
I like hanging out with you, Mason.
It's so fun. It's so fun to learn about new things and make jokes about them.
Sure his father
It is. I'm very glad I met you.
Doors were a precaution. The spike walls, a friendly reminder to be aware of his surroundings.
Of course, of course.
Icarus.
Icarus.
There's
Don't
wax
go turning
wing.
into like a Super Meat Boy type of game now.
That combination lock on the jetpack had, after all, been exceptionally easy to guess.
Icarus. Ow.
Icarus. Oh, Icarus, you died 8 times in a row.
That was wild. That's okay.
I mean, when I'm adding green onion to my rice. I expected a filly, not a filly. That's good.
Nice.
My girlfriend's from Philly.
Well.
Yeah.
Ow.
I have many girlfriends from many different large cities, which I think is fascinating.
You're so multicultural.
I know.
Wait, Mecha Funk's Girl says, I also really love Rich Strike, who was a substitute for a substitute in the Kentucky Derby, had an 80-1 odds against, won, and then started biting everyone. I think that's my favorite horse now.
Yeah, that has to be my favorite horse.
That's my favorite horse. Oh, who's this?
This is Stanley.
Was done.
No, this is
Oh, hi Anna.
The fountain had sounded like a great idea when she started. An adventure. And more importantly, it was an adventure she could have alone.
Well, we know how well that goes in these games.
Right.
It's not called Anna Was Alone.
Exactly. And even if it did, you're never alone for long in this world.
Yeah, exactly. What's the method here?
I wonder if Anna has any special abilities.
Yeah, I feel like she can glide. I mean, look at her.
That'd be
That's a
interesting.
glide-worthy gal, right?
Absolutely. Ah, there we go.
Second lowest odds for winner in the history of the Derby. I'm curious about what the lowest odds was.
Yeah, you gotta tell us now.
But she hadn't been alone. And they had seen her.
I mean, yeah, I don't know what you were expecting. It's Thomas was alone, and he's
Yeah.
not.
If even Thomas.
He was alone for like all of what, a level?
Yeah. It was like 2, maybe 3 levels. Fuck.
Yeah.
It really is funny. Like, he stops being alone like so fast, so much faster than I could remember.
He starts being alone very quickly, considering the title of this game.
I mean, also not, because it is Thomas was alone. You know,
True,
I mean,
yeah,
of course the
true.
story is told in the past tense, but it is also like, yeah, he was alone, but now he's not.
This is my story. I was in the evil death chamber, and they were in the evil death chamber for like maybe all of 1 minute in the story, and then it doesn't really, come up
It was
again.
important to stay focused, though. He had a fountain to get to.
He did have a fountain to get to.
Reminds me of Jenny Nicholson's review of one of the Land Before Time movies, where it's like
God.
it's called like The Great Valley, and like 80% of the movie, it's just Littlefoot alone in a cave.
Oh God. I recently remembered how many fucking Land Before Time movies there are.
14.
I think it's 16 now, right?
Oh wow.
Like there's a lot. How many? They're just
Cut
stalling
shit,
before the meteor
get home
hits.
for dinner. His father wouldn't even notice he'd gone anywhere.
Sorry, they said something in game, so I couldn't understand what you said.
No, I said they're just stalling for the meteor.
No, that's true though. It's the meta narrative of The Land Before Time is that the dinosaurs have found out that if they continue to make movies, then they will never go extinct. You know?
There's a movie where all the long necks get together and prevent the meteor from happening.
It's not a meteor. It's not a meteor. It's a solar eclipse.
I
remember
have a
correctly.
vague recollection of that because I rented it from the fucking IGA when I was a kid.
Nice.
International Grocery Agency or some shit. They used to be able to rent DVDs, and I would rent DVDs from there like it was Blockbuster. The final Land Before Time movie should just be Majora's Mask.
Just not even Land Before Time. They call it Land Before Time. It's Majora's Mask. You just watch a playthrough
It's
of Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
The rectangle seemed remarkably unimpressed by Benjamin's jetpack. She didn't even ask about it. She just kept looking up and muttering about clouds.
Clowns.
Initially slighted, Benjamin decided that this was a passing disinterest and she'd come round eventually.
I'm sure she will.
A passing disinterest.
A
Oh, that's
passing
something I haven't
disinterest
heard
is really
before.
funny. I really like that as a concept.
Yeah. Also, we
but
keep...
you will be.
Yeah, no. I mean, that was me with hiking. As a kid, I didn't like hiking because I was told to go hiking, and I hate being told what to do. But then
You
I
know
was
what?
like,
Me with camping.
not me with camping. I did like camping a lot as a kid. Go on.
I had a healthy appreciation for camping, but like when your only times off are like summer as a kid and you spend a lot of summer camping, you're like, man, fuck, I just wanted to stay home and play Mario Galaxy. Now as an adult, I'm like, dude, get me away. I want to be in the woods for a week.
No, absolutely. I also was like, usually, during vacation and stuff, had to go camping. So I was of the opinion that I would also like to stay home and do things home right now when I'm free. But I didn't dislike camping. But then I did, once I was old enough, I did like start staying home, watching the house while the rest of the family went camping, and I was like, this fucking rules, hell yeah. And a couple of years later, of course, I'm like, all those years.
Yeah, real as hell. I did go camping at this place called Lake Diablo, which is perhaps not the friendliest sounding location to camp.
Not very much, no.
And I remember asking a tour guide, like, why is it called Lake Diablo? And he said, I don't really know, but I think it's because the miners who had to work there fucking hated this place. Which I think is fucking hilarious.
That's so funny.
I think it's because it was hot and they weren't paid very well, so they fucking hated this place. They called it Lake Diablo.
That's good, yeah.
Also, Dan, you got that Flappy Bird style shit going on.
I'm telling you, this game is just becoming like a stupid-ass precision platformer. Which I guess I hate, based on the way I'm talking about it.
Whoa, wait! Oh!
Thanks!
Oh fuck, that's not a spot rate either. Oh my goodness.
Hello, hello,
She should
hello!
have left him, taken the next portal home, and Forgotten about that big spluttering machine he kept motioning at heroically.
Spluttering machine.
Sputtering. Hi, Frexel Nexon and your viewers! If memory serves, you were playing Final Fantasy today? And if not, tell me what it was. And either way, tell me how it was. And hello, everybody. I am Zuzfing the Queen. Usually not simply a rectangle, usually a variety of low poly models that I made myself. But today, in the spirit of Thomas was alone, we are rectangles. And we means I'm here with a friend. Hi, friend. You can introduce yourself now.
Oh, my friend. Hi, I'm Punkit. I'm an artist. I make some MLP comics. I work on Susan Taxpayer and a little game called Astral Guard, which is a demo in production and has been for the past 6 months. So we're getting there. I stream sometimes. I stream about like once or twice a month. I have a good time. I kind of do anything and everything, and I like hanging out with my wonderful friend Josephine. So.
Yeah.
Hell yeah! Everybody go check out Punkit's stuff because it's really good. You know I'm gonna be playing the demo, probably on stream.
Oh, you know it.
You fucking know it.
You know it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Purveyor.
Yeah.
Suspect Taxpayer is fucking awesome. It's still so funny that like we became friends because I played the demo on stream when you were like, that's fun.
I think that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
I love your reaction to the demo. I'm really excited for the next one we're gonna do. It's gonna have an airplane level.
Hell yeah! I have a fear of heights. I'm gonna die.
Well, the really fun thing is that it doesn't take place in an airplane. It takes place entirely in the airport. And my wonderful composer Beatrix Quinn named the song Airport Agony, which is fucking real.
Hell yeah, dude. That's so true. Fuck. Ugh. One time I went to pick up a friend at the airport who was not a friend anymore due to reasons. This is one of them. And like I was already kind of sick, but they were like really nervous, so I had to go pick them up. They didn't want to try to find their way to my house by themselves. So I was at the airport and I was like had the flu, and then also I just couldn't find them, and it was like 2 hours ago that their plane should have landed and stuff. And so I was big anxiety moment, you know? And then it turned out they just gave me the wrong day. They told me like when they left was when, and they never even apologized or anything. So the next day I was just like super sick, and then I was like, I can't come pick you up, and they were like, oh.
Dude, what? That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh, that's. Oh god, that sucks.
Yeah, they also touched me while I was trying to sleep.
What the fuck?
Yeah, not a friend anymore.
No, yeah, I can imagine we're not. Jesus Christ.
It was a bad time.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, when I go to the airport, the McDonald's is really fucking overpriced. So that's my airport story.
We both have equally bad experiences.
I did miss my flight one time, and that was terrifying, but like, I don't know, that's my worst airport story. I actually have a pretty decent time there most of the time, because I go, yeah, I'm going somewhere, so that's what the airport means for me.
That is true. Airports are just like have a general, there's just general busyness and stuff of them, you know? Oh no, I have to go back?
Yeah.
Fuck this shit.
Oh, fuck.
I'm fucking awesome though, I just did it.
Don't think I didn't notice this RPG cameo. Oh yeah, no, I asked Bobby Schroeder, like, specifically, like, hey, can I add melody in this game for fun? And so now there's just like a continuing bit about having cameos every level.
Yay.
Which I think is really fun. I like featuring my friends' projects in games.
Yeah, it's cute.
Oh, the swooser. Surely.
They were halfway to the fountain. It occurred to Benjamin that his father would have become aware of his absence by now.
Yeah, bud.
Benjamin hoped
Oh man.
to be forgiven. You know, the folly of youth.
Fuck.
How fallible can this youth be? Really?
Oh, we're gonna find out. Also,
I suppose we're gonna find out. Yeah.
Eggs.
Egg.
Screaming reaction. And Fake the Funk, thank you both for your egg.
I do find it really funny that airports are like, if you miss your flight, you're dead. We hate you, and also your entire lineage is gone.
You're
and
never
you're like,
leaving this country ever again.
I
Just
missed my flight because
saw.
because they're like, oh yeah, the TSA held me up for 2 hours because it's the TSA and I don't like them. And they were like, sorry, tough luck, you gotta buy a new ticket. And every source I go to says, tough luck, you gotta buy a new ticket. And I talk to a representative and they say, sorry, tough luck, you gotta buy a new ticket. And I'm like, all right, fine. So I go to the help desk and I go, yeah, I missed my flight. And they went, oh, we'll get you a new ticket for free.
Yeah.
Like, okay. I mean, I know why you guys don't just say that, but it's really scummy of you guys not to just say that, you know?
Mm-hmm. It is. When Jody was staying over the first time, and due to stupid public transport, which is really good in the Netherlands but still stupid, we missed her flight. She did have to just buy another one. She was not able to just get a new ticket, which was fucking stupid.
It is fucking stupid.
This jump is fucking stupid. It's okay. This jump is fucking stupid.
Life is okay, maybe. Never mind.
Never mind. Life sucks forever. Kira Cat, thank you for the egg. At least there is still egg.
Oh, polar stars. Well, that's Americans for you, I say. Looking back behind me.
I'm not American.
Thank God.
Thanks
That's why
God
we're friends.
for that.
And also because you're a wonderful person, I love hanging out with you. Hi, Zoe. Hi.
Hi, I'm Mason. I love hanging out with you. You should come over.
I should. I would love that. I just
Yeah.
need to get a passport.
Yep.
I can drive to other countries, but I don't really have much access to that at the current moment.
And also, it would be difficult to drive to the Netherlands.
I would say I could do it, you know.
I
Because I'm
support
cool.
you.
I think the power of friendship could mean I could drive to the Netherlands, but
No, me too. We would make the car go so fast. And
True.
It would just run over the water like Sonic.
it's so melodic. Oh, come on.
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. It's not fine. What the fuck? How am I? Okay, wait.
I guess you gotta
stay
leave
here.
right behind.
You go die for a second or something.
The Disney Fast Pass for the TSA, fuck yeah. I used to be so sad that I was like the one kid who'd never gone to Disneyland when I was like growing up, and nowadays it's like a badge of honor for me.
Yeah. Obviously, I've never been to Disneyland in America, but I've never been to Disneyland Paris either. I'm
Good.
just like, yeah, and I don't really care.
She told Benjamin about the blinding light of the fountain, of the clouds which had defended it. She begged him not to carry on.
Not gonna work. The youth is quite voluble.
Are the clouds? Is that like the cloud that ate everybody in the main game? Do you think?
Oh, you know what? You're probably right.
You're probably right.
Every single time somebody's been like, "Oh, I love Disneyland," and they describe it to me, it sounds like the worst experience possible.
He laughed it off.
Honestly,
He
though.
wasn't afraid of clouds, so however pixelated they were,
Oh yeah,
he
definitely.
could fly above them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Swoop to avoid them.
Because the.
He scared her.
Oh.
Oh.
I've been to like non-Disney theme parks, and then you hear about Disneyland, and it's like, yeah, you can go on one ride. It's like, okay.
Yep. And
I'd
also
like
everything
to go on a
expensive, and
couple.
also I can't imagine a greater hell than being surrounded by Disney adults.
No, exactly, dude. Here's the thing, right? If I were to go to Disneyland, I would not shut up about all the things I hate about it. You know?
Yeah.
And they would kill me in the street. They would kill me in the
Yeah.
main street.
You know, my grandpa died for this, Disneyland.
My grandpa stepped on a mine for this.
My grandpa stepped out of mine for Walt Disney.
Walt Disney didn't thank him at all.
He spat on his grave, but by God, we made Disneyland work. Thomas A.T. 2022. This downfall of many of our most promising AIs.
Wow.
Damn, this is a banger track, by the way.
Yeah. This is a new one. Who are you?
Sarah was awed
Sarah.
by the square.
Oh.
Its voice boomed, raised above the roar of the jetpack.
It died.
You don't happen to have any sandwiches, do you?
Also, he.
Oh wait, was Sarah part of the original crew?
I seem to recall Sarah. Maybe. Was she the flat one that the pixel clouds followed? Fuck.
No, I think it was after the green one. Hold on, let me look up the lineup.
Whatever. I'm just
Yeah, no, Sarah was part of the original lineup. It was
Yeah.
after James.
Which one was she?
She was the really, really tiny one, like she is right now.
Oh yeah, the double jumper. Right.
The double jumper.
The double jumper. The double jumper.
The double jumper.
Fuck.
Everything is too hot, overpriced. People suck. Lines too long. Your feet hurt. Children screaming. My wonderful friend Morgana, who I was streaming with last night, I think was stuck in Disney World for like a week, and I can think of no greater hell, honestly.
Jesus Christ. Stuck in Disney World does actually sound like the title of like a creepypasta or something.
You're right. I went to Knott's Berry Farm.
Well,
Theme
hold on a
parks are
second.
fun.
Wait, actually, I'm curious how you get stuck in Disney World for a week.
Basically, from what I understand, her family went to Florida, and the idea was that they had a week-long vacation in Disney World.
Uh-huh.
And basically, like, they just didn't leave the park because it was so big. And they were supposed to stay there. And I was just like, And they were getting dragged along by family to go to all the Disney World stuff. And I just, like, I could do, like, maybe a day or two of that, you know?
The thing about Disneyland is, like, and Disney theme parks in general, of course there are ideas there that are cool. I love a theme park. I love animatronics. It all just seems so fucking obnoxious.
Yeah, it seems extremely obnoxious.
Uh-huh.
Also, Broken Edge, that's terrifying.
Hold on, what? I once went to Disney World right before a big hurricane hit the area. Disney wouldn't let them close until the last minute, so there were no lines and everything was still open. Great as a kid, it doesn't know what a hurricane is. Horrifying to consider as an adult. But hey, I guess they accidentally invented Doritos.
Huh?
So, elaborate? Also, look at them all.
Oh, it's like a little top hat.
Yeah, a very weird little top hat. Also, yeah, the Defunct Land Fast Pass episode is probably like the best. Like, if someone isn't radicalized against Disney simply by the way that Disney as a company is, or Walt Disney as a person, the Fast Pass episode will do it.
That is a sobering video, and it's an amazing
The
watch.
little purple.
Absolutely.
And she was kind of cute. And she seemed really impressed with his jetpack.
It is a very impressive
This-
jetpack.
Yeah.
This was how Anna should have been looking at him all this time.
Mm.
No, she was pure naysaying. She did understand the dream he had, the importance of what he was doing.
I
Chill
see.
out, man.
Chill out, man. I know you're like 9, but come on.
That double jump was cool too.
Yeah, it
It's
was. Me when I'm looking at a transcript.
No, exactly. Dude, Sarah Trance moments confirmed.
True.
The fountain of knowledge sounded fantastic. Benjamin hadn't told her what it was, really. She suspected he didn't know. He ploughed off ahead while she jumped behind him, helping the increasingly resigned Anna. Sarah suspected Anna had no faith in Benjamin. She was scared. Ha! She had not the faith to believe in their leader. Sarah found herself thinking more epically. She suspected it was Benjamin's heroism. Well, every hero needed a faithful disciple. Maybe that was her. Definitely wasn't Anna.
No.
Everybody's so mean to Anna.
Shade.
Anna just doesn't
Doritos
want you
were
guys to
invented
fucking
in-
kill by clouds. Come on.
Yeah, true. Doritos were invented in Disneyland as a way to get rid of leftover tortillas they couldn't sell. What the fuck?
Huh.
The hand witch.
So wait, does that mean then that Doritos are owned by Disney? Or
Didn't appear in Kingdom Hearts.
no, it's probably not.
Fuck.
Or is it just a case that like the company that sells Doritos was already just a food provider for Disneyland and just did that?
Anna was definitely done this time. She had tried. The self-aggrandizing square and the purple orator were never going to listen.
Orator?
She locked the door behind herself. She would stay
Kid
for
Burst?
years. It was safe. She could wait a few cycles. Who knew? Maybe this would be enough. She was done with adventure.
I don't know if it's gonna work out for you, Anna.
She had no idea what sandwiches even were.
How sad. This thing's pretty good though. Oh god.
Oh, goodness gracious.
My
Sarah
word.
laughed, but she had no fear now. The doubter, Anna, had hidden away.
The doubter.
The doubter.
Oh.
Carried her even higher. He swore the fountain was close, that soon she would see him touch it. He said it would reveal great things. She hoped he might
Like
share
2012
some wisdom.
Skyrim memes.
Yeah. And cats.
That was probably the most dated part of that section, and I think that's really charming to me for some reason.
No, that's the thing. It's like obviously at the time it was like ha ha ha, but now it's like yeah.
Yeah, arrow to the knee.
And there was like a thing back then. It's so beautiful.
2017, Thomas was alone mentioning Ugandan Knuckles.
No.
Sorry, I needed to poison the well here for a second there. My apologies.
The fountain was brighter than the rest. Light seemed to engulf the space around it, pouring into the chambers.
I catch you.
Benjamin
Hi.
was close.
My well, it's poisoned.
Benjamin thought of his father again. He thought about how proud the big square would be of what he'd accomplished.
I catch you.
Yay!
I catch you. Okay.
Oh, alright. Purveyor Arcade, that is what they would say, and that's the fucked up part.
No, that is actually. Thomas needed to know the way. Sucks.
Thomas knew the way.
I catch you. I catch you. Please. God damn it. Okay. I catch you. Did ow. Did Gotcha, mother.
Me when I'm a villain and I've kidnapped a damsel.
No, exactly. Wow, everybody, it sure is 9 p.m. That means it's time for me to do my estrogel, and for that purpose, we'll be taking a 20 or so minute break, during which we'll play some nice music for y'all. If you guys have any medicine you have to take, please remember to do so. Also remember to stay hydrated, get some snackies, stretch your leggies, and we will continue Thomas Was Alone when we're back. See you guys soon. Bye. Whoa. Got your mother in a square. Scare. She's not sure if you're a rectangle or a square.
Really good, really good.
Nice. All right, buttons.
Oh, have you seen my jeans?
Hold on. Show me your jeans before we go.
I'm really... Thomas had jeans. Thomas had a fresh new pair of Old Navy jeans.
That's so awesome.
Square cut jeans.
Rectangle.
Rectangle.
I'm just gonna put that right next to you.
Please do. Me, don't talk to me or my son ever again in his fancy new jeans.
If Thomas wore jeans, would he wear them like this or this? I'm gonna be honest, I think there's only one way for Thomas to wear jeans. No, okay, the other way is that, like, he just wears them up to, like, the crotch and then the legs just sort of lay limp.
I think both
know?
are funny.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, alright, see you guys soon.
See ya.
Hello.
I forgot how good Ogma's Temple is as a track.
It's so fucking good is the thing about it.
It's so fucking good is the thing about it.
That is the thing about it. They don't tell you this because everybody already knows. It is the thing about it.
Everybody already knows.
No need to say it because we all know it intrinsically.
It's all true.
It's all true. Anyway, hi everybody. Welcome back from the break. I noticed that we're already at 11.7 and I think we started at 10.1 and there were 2 chapters shown, which suggests we're already extremely close, which is kind of interesting. I think this stream might be even shorter than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Do we have a backup plan?
We talked about...
I think we recall us having one.
What did you say?
Sorry, I was taking spironolactone. I vaguely remember us talking about a backup plan.
Yeah, we talked about Ponytown.
True.
Is this? Yeah, that was with you, definitely.
Yeah,
if you're still
absolutely.
up for that, if you still think that's a fun idea.
I would love some
Sarah
Ponytown.
knew she could not follow
Alright.
Benjamin any further. She would wait here. He would return soon enough. And he would tell her everything.
Wait, do you think Benjamin is going to
Lights grew
become...
even brighter. And with tears in his eyes, Benjamin ascended.
Oh.
No.
But she does have to come along, though, because there's no ending spot here. There's no, like, portal for her. Do you think Benjamin is going to become the old man?
I think so.
Wasn't his name Ben?
I don't know. I think this is the only way the timeline lines up, though.
Yeah. Oh, no! Well, she's dead. Jesus Christ. Okay.
Who knew the old wise man she talked about had a fucking jetpack on him?
Yeah, that works. Just hold down the pad button.
Just you.
shone
There it is.
before him, its light reverberating off the walls percussively. It was awesome. It was everything he had hoped.
Yeah.
Sandwiches didn't matter anymore. Cute purple fangirls didn't matter anymore. There was only Benjamin and the fountain.
What about your father? What about your father, Benjamin? Sandwiches
Not
will
true.
always
Will always matter. So fucking true.
So true. Kirby says this. Oh, all right. So if I can... Here we go. What if I just go this way? Then? Wow, nothing.
Wow.
The light engulfed Benjamin. He couldn't.
Oh, you flipped me. I didn't even know you could do that.
What the fuck?
That was
Oh my
crazy.
God.
That doesn't show up in the stream chat, in the on stream chat. You flipped me.
That's crazy. I can't do that, Siri.
You can't do it to Sari bot. I've been flipped.
No, I'll do it.
Why everybody flipping me?
It's fun.
Oh wait, hold on. We get to see what's inside. I just realized we're like inside the fountain now. We didn't get to do this as Thomas.
Thomas had a jetpack. That's how he did all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun fact: I actually flipped Zoe's real character sprite, but you guys can't tell because it's a rectangle.
Yeah. All the blood is rushing to my head right now, but you can't tell because I'm just a rectangle.
Yeah.
I saw that. There it is.
Lucina, that's a good one.
Nice.
Benjamin was blind. He had seen shadows, bright lights, data in innumerable and unimaginable combinations. And then it had gone. He wasn't ready. He sat. There was nothing else to do. He'd try and find his way home tomorrow.
I think he's gonna find his way.
I don't know if he's gonna be able to do that. Yeah, Benjamin is witnessing the horrors. Fuck,
Benjamin
man.
is breaking, dude.
Breaking Benjamin. I'm gonna rip $100 bill in half. A skill issue, I would just comprehend it. People always point to...
See, I wouldn't like comprehend it, but I wouldn't be too broken up about it. I'd be like, oh.
People be like, oh man, man-made horrors beyond your comprehension, and then they'll show me like, I don't know, a bad movie, and I go, I don't know, this is pretty comprehensible for me, the person who got a degree in comprehending man-made horrors.
Yeah. They show like man-made. They show horrors beyond your comprehension. It's like a big monster. I get it.
I love that one meme where it's like, if you look up, it's like man-made horrors beyond your comprehension, and the guy goes, I don't know, it kind of looks like a big squid. And he's like, oh fuck, you comprehended it.
That's exactly it. Oh, I think this is the last one.
Sarah fell.
Oh. No.
Benjamin was stuck up there. She had no idea if she'd ever see him again.
No. Did Sarah have any dialogue in the main game about having been to the fountain before?
It had unleashed the clouds.
Uh,
It had blinded Benjamin.
No, she definitely didn't get to the fountain in the original.
No.
And she also didn't go to the fountain in the original also because Thomas took that from her.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she was very much like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get to the fountain, which I guess is from, you know, this is where the motivation comes from.
Yeah.
Fall, fall, fall. Whoa.
Sarah swore she would see it again. She'd get back to it. She would know what it was and what it contained.
The fervor in the narrator here.
Yeah, seriously. This continuation story or prequel does like so many interesting little things with its shapes and the environment. You been noticing that?
Yeah, I am noticing that.
Yeah.
Also, this is the room you meet her in, I think.
Oh, is it? That's cute. Well, that was it.
Fuck.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Well, he
funny.
wasn't that alone.
Thomas wasn't even there. I guess he was alone. He wasn't there. He was somewhere else by himself.
Yeah.
And thanks for good. It's a bit sense as well. That was it.
That was it.
Gone.
Fuck. Well,
Well, that was
Ponytown?
cute though. That was fun. That was a cute little thing.
Yeah, that was adorable.
Yeah.
Definitely a nice little bonus.
Yes. I liked it more than the last hour of the main game.
True. Yeah, same.
And if you haven't seen it, you can check out our first stream on my YouTube channel. Or play it for yourself, of course.
Of course. What nice music.
It's so nice.
What a delightful little game. Thank you for showing it to me again.
Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you came to experience it with me, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your dangly rectangle? Yeah. By about, you know, the whole rectangle.
Yeah, it's all gone now. Need to make Thomas and Ponytown now. Oh my god!
Wait, yeah.
Oh my god, you're right. Let's go to Ponytown right now and try to make rectangles.
Please.
Okay. Okay. Pony.town. Am I still logged in? No. Oh no.
Huh?
Oh no. I think I used Twitter to log into Ponytown.
R.
And I don't have a Twitter anymore.
R.
I think I might have lost all my horses.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I had a lot of horses. So let's see
Oh.
what happens if I click on it. Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe I also connected it to my Discord? Schneal Lord, thank you for following. Okay, Discord. Oh, thank fucking God. Okay, I also
yeah.
connect to my... Yeah, my horses! My horses
see
are
my,
okay! Oh, I'm so happy.
Do you want to see a really good thing that I forgot that I had on mine?
Absolutely, go ahead.
I want to DM this to you.
Okay. Ooh! Ooh! Oh, good. That's very funny.
Thank you. Thank you.
I like the name a lot.
Thank you.
Alright, here's
Are we
horses.
going to the safe server?
Oh, I suppose so. Everybody make sure not to do any swears or otherwise you get banned.
Oh wow, this server is much more used than the other server.
Oh, they have a minimap now. That's crazy. Let me just...
Oh fuck, there's so many.
It's just... I feel like the 18 plus server is always already really much used.
It's like especially packed compared to the 18 plus server.
Huh.
Okay, how do I get to you?
Is Ponytown a category? Yes. It has 1 viewer. Dude, we're about to become the most viewed Ponytown stream right now. Dude, Lucina of Stardust is here too. Hello.
Dude, fuck yeah. Cave? Are you in the cave?
I'm in the cave.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the cave. This minimap is actually extremely handy.
That's cute. Last time I played, they didn't have that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
me
and
neither.
low custom expressions and stuff. I'm looking angry. I'm looking uncomfortable. I'm looking some kind of way.
Getting up to the
How do I
cave?
reset? Click on it again? No. What if I sneeze? Nope. There we go. Oh wow, so those who don't know, Ponytown is a little website you can get to if you just go to pony.town in your browser and you can make a little horse and walk around. There's a lot of customizability in here. Let's see, I've got so many. Dude, I've got Deltree from Kitten Burst!
Oh, that's exciting! Yes!
We got Coral Queen. I've got Ina, other Ina. I've got a TTRPG character of mine who is a unicorn disguised as a human, but here she's a unicorn. Robot concept. You are still that one. You're still that. Hi, sorry,
It's me,
That's
deeply
you.
unpleasant Travis McElroy pony.
Deeply unpleasant Travis McElroy. Oh my god. A horse OC called Laser Pointer.
I love your saber. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, it's so good.
That's so fun.
Wait, hold on. We have to les out.
And I'm also here.
Hello, deeply unpleasant Travis McElroy. Thank you for making yourself the center of the attention.
Oh fuck. Well,
Who's
I
this?
gotta
Is this
swap
is
to,
this one of us? This person who's here? Yeah, there's Star Magnolia. Hi. Let me switch to my here, Sunny Moon. Sunny Moon is just my horse Sona, my pony Sona.
Oh, that's so fun. That's so fun.
She's goth, but she's real peppy, like me. So she's Sunny
Yay.
Moon.
Oh, that's cute.
And she has gauntlets because she has gauntlets.
True. Let's out in front of the unpleasant.
Can I make a
I
group?
love the term "lesing out." It's so funny.
I
to me
love
for no
lesing
reason.
out, dude. It's one of my favorite things. Like as a term, and also in like as a thing to do.
I think X and Y should let's out.
Yeah. Let's see. How do I invite you to party? There we go. And also invite you to friends, actually.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, my friend Josephine. I need to be her friend.
Yeah. Because if anyone else in chat wants to join, absolutely come on over and hang out. I'm
It's
also
extremely
gonna
easy.
do a little everyone. Check. Yes. What's I talking about? Lesing out is awesome.
Lesing out is awesome. You should really mention which server you're in, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh dude, you got draw code. Did I have any? No, I don't have any Sparkle and Raven ones, but I do have Sakura Katana-chan.
Fuck yeah.
From Sugoi Quest for Kokoro. Yeah, we're on the safe stream right now. So come on over and hang on out. Are these bats, Neo? Whoa. Who's that? I kind of know who that is. Who's this?
This is Melody from SlarPG.
Yeah.
That's Dio. That's Dio.
Oh, from
JoJo's.
Nice.
I don't know who that is.
Here's Skeleton, the horse made of bones.
Skeleton.
Skeleton.
I love deeply unpleasant Travis McElroy, Pony. Something about it is just deeply funny to me.
It's so funny. Oh my god. It was Dio using the trick people used to make boobs so his chest bounces. No.
Oh my god, wait, you're a genius.
Oh my god. Is this person one of us? They are typing.
The crying is crazy.
The crying is crazy.
I'm the boss.
I'm...
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
There's literally a boss.
Oh wait,
here,
hold on. No, it was like. Sorry, I gotta. Have you played Dream Barbecue?
I have not.
Oh, Mason, dude, I gotta teach you how to do. I gotta teach you solo TTRPG stuff, and I gotta play Dream Barbecue with you. You would fucking love it. I love it so much. I've played through it like 8 times.
Fuck yeah.
You lost your ponies? No. Is it also because you deleted your Twitter? Dude.
Dude, Ness Earthbound.
Ness Earthbound.
I was just playing Earthbound last night.
Oh, nice. I wish Earthbound wasn't so long because I want to play it.
It's a very fun time.
How do you do this again? Boop. Boop. High five. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woo. Yeah.
Woo.
Woo.
Testament.
Nice. Testament. Nice,
Testament
nice.
Guilty Gear.
It won't let me log in. No clue
Hello,
why.
my non-binary king, queen.
Weird. Non-binary monarch?
Yeah. I think it is genuinely very cool that one of my favorite fighting games has people like me in it. That makes me very happy.
It's so fucking good, dude. It's so crazy good.
They were like, that's right, we brought back a character that everybody liked, and now they're non-binary. That's right, we brought back a character everybody liked, and also now they're a T-girl. What's next? Fucking, I don't know, man. You give me $1,000 now. And I said, absolutely, sir. Yes, sir. Daisuke, I swear fealty to you like a fucking like Shogu era like samurai. Alright? I will follow you to the ends of the earth.
Fucking, it's so fucking good that it's like, it is no beating around the bush. They are non-binary and trans. And anybody who, like, tries to start shit, he just comes on social media and goes like, you're fucking stupid.
It's awesome. I love it.
It rules. Also, the guy who does the singing does live performances and ad-libs the lyrics because he doesn't remember them.
That's amazing.
It's awesome. It's so good. Ah, a fellow Homestuck. Very good. Hello.
Friend Zoe on the safe server, come say
Mama.
hi. Yeah, so to share that real quick. Bam.
They made a whole anime so Bridget could look directly at the camera and announce that she's trans a second time. I have to still watch it. I also hear she does Yuri in it, so...
Oh, is it out? Hold on.
Apparently they're on like episode 4 or something.
Guilty Gear anime Bridget. Dual Rulers anime. Oh yeah, oh shit, Bridget's on TV!
Yeah, dude! Wait, you mean like in the show or like the anime?
Yeah, I mean, she's in an anime, and that's cool.
Yeah, I still have to watch it.
Does Bridget les out in this show?
I've heard she lets us out.
That's really exciting.
Like I was like, oh yeah, there's like a Guilty Gear anime. I should like get around to watching it at some point. But I'm watching like 80s cyberpunk stuff right now. And then I see a post like apparently she lets us out, and I'm like, maybe I can make some time. You know? Oh my god, yeah, you got that anime girl holding across. Yeah, dude, I want to copy that one. Can I copy that one? Is there a way to copy things?
Holy shit.
Steals. Mason, you know what this is about, right? You know the goth anime girl holding a cross?
Yes, I do actually.
Yes! It's so good. I love it. Who are these other two people? Are they with us? I mean, they're with us now.
I just suggested that Parappa the Rapper.
Whoa, what? Oh my god, Parappa the Rapper.
Fuck.
Oh, what? I wanted to say like, oh my god, I'm Parappa the Rapper. Oops. Come on, man.
Sorry, man, I'm following now.
No, I'm following you. Is that Puff? Puff!
Wait.
Where did Parappa? This way. Here. And also, hi, Fira. Welcome.
Hello.
Oh my god, I just looked at the minimap. All the fucking dots unusable. Wait, where'd it go?
I know. Fucking up this way. Where are you? I'll find you.
Parappa, please.
Wait, why don't I just zoom out? Hold on. Oh god, it's unusable.
Oh yeah, you can turn the dots off. That's good. Wait, where did Puff go? I have to invite Puff to the party. Puff! Oh, Puff, there you are. Puff, stop. Hi. There you go.
Puff.
Okay, nope. You. Puff, invite the party. Invite the party. Or invite the friends, invite the party.
Hi, Buff. How are you?
I feel so cringe saying meow, dude. That's really good. I love looking at random conversations. That's scary accurate. I know 3 girls now who can make extremely accurate cat noises. If I had a nickel, I would have 3.
Eat your nickels.
There is a zoom in button on
What
the
is
right.
it?
It is above
I found
the
it.
drop item button. Yeah,
Wow,
you
you
got
sure
it. You got
can
it.
zoom these out pretty far.
You can. Let me see how far I can zoom out. Holy fuck. Jesus Christ. Microbe dish.
It doesn't matter where I look, I see Hesman Hotel anywhere. It's not fully true.
Everywhere I look, I see that face.
Because they all have the same face.
Because they all have the same fucking face. Hold on, I dropped Twitch for some reason. Let me fix that.
Made of liquid. Thank you very much for following. Inviting people to party. Wait, is this actually? Hold on, I invited Eden because you look like. You look familiar. I don't know if you actually are. Haha. Anyway, you're already a friend, so I know you gotta be here.
I like Raphael Dog. Big fan.
Dude. Agreed. This one's called Bald.
Awesome.
Every pony is so cute. Every pony is so cute. That's true.
I agree. My favorite thing to do when I was hanging out with Raz on Ponytown is I would just grab like a hammer and I would hit people with it and then run away.
That's awesome. A thing
you.
that I used to do a lot with my community is we would go into mines. It's actually the room where we started, so I think it's just the last thing that we did. Just go stand there, a lot of us, and then anytime showed up, we would get really angry and demand that they answer our riddles or whatever before they would be allowed in our chamber.
That's really good.
Not a lot of people engaged with it. A lot of people just called us weird and stuff, which is pretty lame.
Sad. You're
Have
literally
some
on Ponytown.
funsies.
You're literally on Ponytown.
Right, you're on Ponytown. What the hell are you gonna do?
You cannot be thinking that you're above everyone else when you and I are in the same fucking crab bucket, you know?
Exactly. Let's go see what my house looks like. Come this way, everybody. Remember, if you do click the little 3 people icon next to the minimap, you can turn off everybody who's not in the party. All those, dude. There's other Inas here. Nice.
There's other Inas.
Other Inas and a cube 6 forever. Thank you very much for following. You missed all the shapes. Those were earlier in the stream. Sorry. No cubes
Somebody said,
here.
"Sorry, AFK. I'm at school. The youth is alive and well."
Let's see. Wow. Oh, there's like a nothing here. That's cool. Did you make it to the island?
I don't know how to do that yet.
Oh. So we all walked to the harbor?
The boat. Oh.
Yeah, if you walk onto the boat, you get teleported. To
Wow, it's so peaceful here.
Yeah. So a lot of this stuff was, I think, just already here. When we started, when you get the island. But this was added. You can tell because it looks like shit. But if we go inside, yeah. I remember this was built like together with the community at one point when we were hanging out in the Discord.
So cute!
Yeah, right?
I love the Nightmare Before Christmas type theme and we got going on here.
It was Halloween at the time. All the eggs. Hold on, look on the left side, all the eggs.
Oh my god, wait, that's so genius!
That's so cute. I don't even remember that. That's so fun.
I gotta say, by the way, I fucking love the pixel art in this game.
I know, it is so delightful. It's giving me big, like, drawn to life vibes, you know?
You're right, drawn to life vibes.
Oh, Buff, thank you for your egg.
It's really funny. This is a very specific era of pixel art, by the way. Like,
Master
I think
thank
it's
you also
funny
for
that
starting the second X-Tech. Sorry, go on.
people think like, oh, pixel art's like an art style. No. It is a genre of art. Like, because like you wouldn't look at a Paul Robertson and go like, oh, just like Mario All Stars. I say. A totally comprehensible sentence to most people.
Pixel art is an art medium.
Yeah. It is a.
Not every
it is a
painting is the
format.
same, you know?
Yeah. But I like this because you can tell it's influenced by the DeviantArt pixel art boom.
Yeah, really. Which is very fitting.
Which not enough people talk about, IMO. It was big on DeviantArt. Pixel art was huge on DeviantArt. Nowadays, where are you going to find pixel art?
Indie games, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you just gotta look at the finished product for that kind of stuff. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't see as much just pixel art being posted by itself.
Do I have to stick to the typing quirk when I'm Kanaya?
Yes.
Hello, is this some type of Stardew Valley?
It'd be cute if there was
Mar.
Stardew Valley, if you could also do some little farming and stuff, but
I would
no,
love if there was gameplay to Ponytown, but this is basically just chat room.
it's just a chat room. You can pick up items and eat flowers. And maybe fly around if you're a Pegasus. But yeah, it's a little virtual it's a little virtual chat room, the likes of which we used to see more often, and then we didn't, and then we got Ponytown. And
This is a type of web fishing.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a type of web fishing, except with less gameplay, but more customizability. You can do so much with your horse. Look at this horse I made. How do you fly again in this game?
Really good.
Have you seen Sugoi Quest for Kokoro?
I don't think I have.
Yet another thing I have to show you. You've seen Sparkle on Raven, The Life of Drill Gold, though,
Yes.
haven't you?
You showed it to me directly in a call.
Oh, okay, very good.
Also, hello, Julie. Hello, Julie Powers. Good pick.
Oh, nice. Oh, well, goodbye. Oh, there was a Sparkle and Raven mention, so I had to switch. I see.
This makes sense to me.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, whoops. I have to catch up. I don't have horse versions of.
Yeah.
I don't have horse versions of Broadcast and
Yeah,
the
you gotta
Fennec
get on
Queen.
that.
Oh, wow.
Whoa! How'd you get that in your mouth?
Fox training forever in Ponytown. Oh yeah, we are kind of like. We should dick around in Ponytown.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's go back over there.
Where should
Ponytown
we
is so
go?
delightful.
It is.
It's just so. It really is so fun to see people, to just kind of people watching it and be like, dude,
It is.
the you know, the mid 2000s teen culture, it never ended. It's
It
alive
never
and
ended.
well.
It never died.
It's still here,
there we
and
go.
it's awesome.
I think it's beautiful. If I knew about this shit when I was like 12, I would have hid it from my parents, but I would have really enjoyed it.
I would not have hid it. My parents were cool. I would have hid it from my then best friend who was not cool.
My parents were also cool, but I was also a dude at the time and still not very secure in my masculinity for a good reason.
It's just that's the thing. My parents never gave a shit about that. They didn't raise me with gender stuff in mind. So I really liked Winx Club, but then I had a then best friend who made fun of me for it.
Lame.
Yeah.
I had it's really funny. Like my parents were super chill when it came out as trans because they don't care about that. I just grew up in a logging town in the middle of nowhere.
Oh
So
yes, yeah.
kind of a brutal environment to test your gender in, you know.
Yeah. Hello, Gordon.
Hello, Gordon.
Hello, Gordon.
I'm very
Pointing-
excited for the Snapcube Kingdom Hearts dub. That's gonna be
Yes.
fun.
Oh my god, it looks so fucking funny.
I haven't watched the teaser because I kind of want to go in blind, aside from knowing that Wanger Do TV is part of it.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, actually, I guess I shouldn't say that.
That's right. I know it's Radio TV Solutions.
Oh,
in
okay,
general.
okay.
Yeah. And Holly, the person who's somehow in both.
Yeah, right. That was the funny thing to me is that the trailer says oh yeah with Radio TV Solutions, and then they first show Holly, and I was like, and then they do a member that's that's also already been in other real-time fan dubs. So it's like, did Holly just demand a prefix? You know?
I don't know, but
then
I think
after
she
that
can
they
demand
were like, oh
anything
yeah,
she
I'm bald
wants.
and Wayne and stuff. It's really funny.
Holly is the ultimate poster. I have massive respect for her craft.
Could never do it like that.
I could never post like that.
Just finished bonifying my persona. How do I get to where y'all are?
We're outside.
We're
at the bakery.
We're to the left of the bakery. You'll find us.
You got it.
Pointing to the Tumblr post that's chilling with your friends in Ponytown, and then someone goes, "Is that Thomas Jefferson?" And you all turn around. Yeah, that is also just still one of the best things. Is just you're just hanging out and someone goes "Whoa, look at that one!" and you just all start running after them.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
It's such a fun experience. Hello, Spampton. I got one post by I think it's Taxidermy that was the night before Deltarune Chapter 2 dropped. I googled Spampton and basked in the silence. I think that's
Oh
fucking
my
hilarious.
I found y'all, no worries. I'm the one with the green hair and pink shirt. Jolene? Jolene. Do you want to let's out?
I'm begging you, please steal my man.
How about we
I
just
want him.
steal each other from my man? Who's this cheesecake person? This cheesecake wants to be my friend, but I don't know who they are. Are you someone in chat?
I don't know.
You really want to les out today, huh? Girly, I want to les out every single moment of every single day.
This is extremely like viable. I think you can do this.
I want to les out so bad.
Tumblr posted at 5 a.m. that just says Ponytown is a form of lesing out. Send tweet.
I gotta remember to do that. Lesing out is a state of mind. True. If Thomas Jefferson were represented in the MLP universe, which he shouldn't, would he be a bovine named Thomas Hefferson? Yes.
That's pretty good.
Absolutely.
That's pretty good. Although bovines aren't a respected class of people in MLP for
No,
some
they're
reason.
not. No. They're repressed.
They really like fuck up the whole world by having the cows be farm animals but also speak.
Yeah.
What's going
It's
on
so
there?
weird. It's so fucking weird. I'm never shutting up about that. It's so fucking weird as hell. Okay, so Jolene. Okay, here. Invite to party. Whoa.
Hello, Saber.
Whoa.
Hello, Saber.
Whoa, there's another Deltree here. What the hell? Hello.
Oh fuck! Wait, where's Deltree? Oh. Yo!
Yo. Yo.
Oh fuck! I still gotta send you that Deltree charm I got for your birthday.
Yeah, you do. And also those other things I bought from you.
Yes. I need to get to that this week. I'm doing a big shipment, so
Oh,
I can
yeah.
actually do that now. 2 Dells.
2 Dells.
Saber's sweating.
Yeah. who's this Deltree? If you're in chat, sound off. If you're just like a random Kitten Burst fan, that would be insane.
Man, I love Deltree so much.
I love Deltree so much, dude. Me and Deltree need to les out,
I think you and Deltree should les out.
please. Man, if only someone had drawn art of that would be so fucking awesome.
True. If only. God, I gotta finish that standee. It's on pause right now because it's hard to get stuff from Vogue Race right now. But like, I need to finish the art.
Yeah. But
Deltree.
I'm waiting patiently.
That's crazy. You have such a crush on Saber. I would have never
Yo,
guessed.
what? Who'd have known?
Bro, who would have known?
Who would have fucking known? Oh, they were Vex Fidel. Okay, I see. Sorry, it's
Nice.
really okay. If I'm saying say something in chat, it's more convenient if you say it in Twitch chat, because there's not a whole bunch of randos talking in there. You know, it's only great and trusted people, with the inner circle that are watching the stream, unlike all these fucking randos with their has-been skins and whatever, you know. And yeah, to those who don't know, My Little Pony Friendship is Magic just like, whoops, there is so much racism in there.
They do it a lot, and they're like, "Oh man, we have to bring the magic of friendship to the other uncultured races."
Uh-huh.
Like that. I would argue it's at its most racist in season 1, but you know.
It is, because it's before they do any kind of fleshing out of other species. But after that, like, instead of just being like simply horses are the dominant species and every other race is like literally, like in the most literal sense, beneath them, such as being their farm animals. After that, it becomes horses are white people and we can make fun of other cultures with other species. Like when they have the yaks and stuff, you know?
Yeah. The ponies are like Americans that are even like subgroups within their Fuck.
Yeah.
Something about like people there are a lot of people who are like season 1 truthers, which I can understand because you're like, oh, it was like before the show had like a fandom, and I understand.
Yeah, before it started
At the same
catering
time,
and stuff, yeah.
that is the season where they go, well, I think the Native Americans should have just shared. So, you know,
Yeah.
always kind of an infinitely lower season in my mind.
Uh-huh. I'm so glad that Equestria Girls is normal, and I can just enjoy that one.
Yeah. I have like a season, like a post-season 4, like, enjoyer.
Yeah, Zakora as
like,
well.
Izakora. Yeah, it's also the season where they go, I don't trust this extremely black-coded character who speaks in riddles.
Uh-huh.
Which is so fascinating to me. Lauren Faust, I think, is an interesting individual.
Yeah.
Her original pitch for the Diamond Dogs involved them like having like stereotypical like hood speak, which is crazy to me. Like, I'm glad they stopped her, but like, girl, why?
Why would you do that?
Why would you do that, girl?
Like, are you... I just don't really understand how anyone these days, or those days, which is still these days, has like that idea pops into their head and they're like, yeah, all right,
I should include racial stereotypes in my children's cartoon.
yeah, and they should be bad guys as well.
Yeah.
Oh, so weird. Can't believe you would do
Yeah,
that
2010
too.
was
I
coming
can't
out
believe
with
you would
this
do that to a
problematic.
David Bowie reference. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Okay, I was talking about this last night, actually. Really funny thing that, the Hub had all of those shows, because me and Morgana were arguing that it was probably the most transgender autistic, like, Cartoon Network out there. It was like, you had My Little Pony, don't need to explain that. You had Shizao, the show where the boy turns into a girl, it's like a magical girl plot. You had Dan Versus, which, I don't know, it's just Dan Versus. And then you had Transformers. Like,
It's got trans in
fucking-
the name.
it's got trans in the name. Like, a fucking deadly combo of shows back to back for a cisgendered, weird, nerdy kind of guy in the 2000s. You know what I'm saying?
No real.
Like,
Let's walk somewhere.
yeah, let's walk somewhere. I've never watched Shizou. I'm 90% sure it probably handled, like, whoa, I turned into a girl really badly, but, like, I don't know. That probably affected a non-zero amount of people, you know? Especially on the My Little Pony channel.
When you say that's not
Yeah.
what is it called? Ramen 2.5 or whatever.
Ranma?
Ranma?
Yeah, Western Ranma.
Is that like, I just don't know what show you're talking about. I don't know it.
Yeah, it's called Shizou, and it was basically a magical girl plot, but the main character was like a boy.
She Sal. Oh yeah. I didn't watch this, and I remember distinctly the reason why I didn't watch it. It wasn't that I thought it was that like I wouldn't be interested in this or anything. My exact thought process was, I bet they're gonna make fun of the concept, and I don't want to see that for reasons that I'm not thinking about.
Dan Versus was like if Scott Pilgrim was just about Scott dating his roommate. And Scott Pilgrim is the show for transgender people, so you know.
That's true, yeah.
It's all connected. It's all connected.
This is well known.
This is well known. I'm gonna call Dan Versus Scott Pilgrim who was dating his roommate, by the way. That is absolutely what it's like.
I never watched much of it. Does he actually... Wait, we can't stop it. This is My Hero territory. Oh, fucking gross. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, they're throwing grenades at Dobby.
Ugh, disgusting. Dude, this is Sonic territory. Let's go.
I'm sorry, there's a rabbit here.
Oh, like a raven rabbit. I see.
Wow. Yeah, see? Fascinating.
But they're Sonics and stuff.
No, I find it charming.
Oh, I see. Way.
I'm genuinely deeply charmed by this person who decided to roleplay as a raving rabbit.
Yeah, that's great, actually. That's so cute. Boy.
Yeah, what were you asking about Dan?
Right, so I never really watched Dan Versus. I just know like 2 clips, including the one where it's like, I don't care who the IRS sends, I'm not paying my taxes. Is he gay with his roommate? For real?
It is honestly kind of implied.
Damn. I should watch it.
They make a lot of bits about Dan having like a extremely clingy relationship to his married buddy. and his married buddy being extremely like there's something going on that's not exactly like monogamous is what I will say.
Very
Sonia
interesting.
see you
Sonia
again.
the Squishy, thanks so much for following. Welcome.
Like, still a 2000s, cartoon, so they didn't really like 2010s cartoons. So they didn't really get into it. It was no Steven Universe, but all I'm saying is there's something distinctly non-monogamous happening with that trio. So,
I love that.
I love that.
I love that. It was really funny. I was talking, this is kind of spoilers for Cardcaptor Sakura, but they're minor. And I feel like it's the kind of spoiler that someone hears and then like, oh, I have to watch this now. I was talking to a friend and they were like, I watched like 1 or 2 episodes of Cardcaptor Sakura, but I couldn't really get into it at the time. But there was one thing I really didn't like, which is that Sakura's crush is so much older than her. But also I had canon him and her brother to be gay. So, and I was like, no, they like are. Like, it's not even subtext. They just are gay together.
Not even subtext?
No, it's not. It's just canonical.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Hell
Cardcaptor Sakura is, was very, very progressive. It has multiple queer characters in there.
Oh, man,
It also has one thing that I fucking hate, but that's can't win them all. Yeah, sometimes there's a middle schooler who has a crush on her teacher, and the teacher reciprocates it. Uh-oh. But hey, then you have the sequel series where that character gets pushed like out of the show and nobody mentions her beyond hey, what happened to her? She's overseas now.
Yeah, I wonder why.
It's really funny.
She's not even the fucking law, dude.
It's so fucking funny that like the Clamp by that point was like, I don't like that part anymore.
That part's bad, actually.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah. It's just so funny to me. It's like, I had canon them as gay. You're not doing anything. They just are.
And so who are they gay with?
So Cardcaptor Sakura's crush is gay with Sakura's brother.
That's insane. That's so fucking funny.
It's awesome.
Oh my god. That's so funny.
It's so good. It's so it's like it's just so good in so many ways because like you have so many of these shoujo anime where the love interest is just oh man, he's a cool guy. He's the coolest guy in school and he's real sporty and he's like a real white knight type of character, like he's always got the best ideals and he's always like putting fighting for the fucking pool not to get torn down. I don't fucking know. It's always that kind of character. And then in Cardcaptor Sakura is like he's really tired and he likes to eat.
Interesting.
And also he's fucking your brother.
I googled Cardcaptor Sakura brother and I went, oh yeah, that's a fucking like yaoi candidate.
I know. They're so
I know
like
what you are, Clamp.
Yeah. It's so funny. They have so much like the yaoi art style of the time. Tiny heads, really tall. It's so funny.
Sorry, I had to hop in.
Hmm?
Somebody said let's go, and I thought it would be funny to go Les.
Les?
I love Sephiroth's underwear. That's crazy, man. Anyone want to Les out?
Anyone want to Les out?
Somebody's saying wife a lot.
Yeah,
it's
wife.
Dressed up as my dad.
Interesting.
A lot of Sonics here. I respect it.
Yeah, no, that's why I stopped here. I love Sonic.
That's a really cute toilet sparkle up there.
Aw, it is. That's cute with the little leg warmers. Cute. Reminds me of how they censored Sailor Uranus and Neptune's relationship in the American dub by changing girlfriend to cousin, but didn't cut out anything else. It was so weird. It's such a weird thing. I know that the 4Kids dub of Cartoons of Sakura also changed things. The thing is, when I watched it as a kid, or rather, the memories of watching it as a kid, are too vague. I just remember loving it. So then when I picked it up as an adult, I just only watched the Japanese version, so I can never remember what they changed. But yeah, they also changed the gay stuff, sadly. But changing girlfriend to cousin is fucking weird, because they still have, like, super overtly romantic dances and stuff together. But it's like, oh man, you're my cousin. 4Kids, you made it worse.
4Kids. That was the worst option you could have taken.
That's the worst. You could have, I don't know. You could have said that one of them was a guy, and then really shittily put Photoshop jeans over them when they're wearing skirts.
True.
Yeah.
And then every single fucking Sailor Moon fan would have been a T-boy.
What a beautiful world we could have lived in.
What a beautiful world we could have lived in.
Mm-hmm.
But now all Sailor Moon fans like les out, so it's, it still works.
Yeah. We win either way. 4Kids cannot stop us.
Really? Okay. This unlocked a memory for me that I think is extremely funny.
Hmm.
When I was in, I think my first year of college, I found this couple that were cosplaying as, hold on. It was Uranus and Neptune.
Mana Charge,
And,
Final Fantasy 14, thank you so much for following. Sorry, go on.
But it was a husband and wife duo, but they weren't like gender swapping it. They were just like, oh, I'm gonna cross dress for this, and I was looking at it and I went, oh my god, that guy is so pretty. I wish I could pull that off. And my buddy was like, yeah, me too. And 1 year later, I'm a girl, and a couple years later, he's a guy. So.
Hell yeah! Oh, I love that.
Funniest fucking in exchange in hindsight.
Yeah.
Like, wow, that guy is so pretty. Yeah, I wish I could be pretty like that. What did they mean by that, chat?
I'm not gonna think about that though.
I'm not gonna think about it. Now we've got trans solidarity,
Hell yeah. Archer, thank you very much for following. Or not following, Egg. I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but I had a friend in high school who was super gender non-conforming. Like they were male representing at the time, but they like just dressed super gender fuckery and stuff, and had really nicely kept long hair and did a bit of makeup and stuff. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. That's so fucking cool that you're just sort of like, being so different. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking too much about it. That's really cool though. And it was them that got me into Homestuck also, which is awesome. And
wow.
After high school, we kind of lost touch a little bit. We were Tumblr mutuals, so send each other a post now and then. And I did college and stuff, and then I moved. And it turns out I was living in the same city as them at that point. So they were like, "Oh, we should like hang out again." I was like, "Oh yeah, come on over," They come over and they're like, not at all gender non-conforming anymore. They're wearing basically like a suit and have a beard. And
I remember this.
Yeah, and like, I was just at this point I was already well into my transition, and I was physically disappointed. Not by choice, it just happened. I was just physically disappointed to see them like that. And then we hung out, etc., etc. And then, like, that evening, they send me a message and they're like, "Hey, your reaction just, like, broke my egg."
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool.
It's very cool and it's very funny, and they're they're like extremely like even more non-conforming than they were originally, which is great.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm currently going through this with a friend who I've known since I was like 10 or 11, and I'm like, I think they're in like an iron closet. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh.
But I've been helping them out with like they were like, "Oh hey, I'd like to dress more like femme. It'd be really fun if I could do that." And I was like, "Oh my god, yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to help you, and I will absolutely take your word that you're a guy because I totally believe in just like being gender non-conforming as a guy. That makes sense to me." And recently they were like, "Oh my god, I just got a push-up bra." I'm like,
hell yeah, dude!
And this is still what you're going with?
Yeah.
So I've just been enjoying watching it from the sidelines. I'm not gonna do anything. I gotta wait for them. I'm prime directive
Don't push them or anything. Yeah.
But I'm just sitting there like, this is a fucking like, this is not like cracking an egg. This is hurling it across a football field, but somebody is gently catching it somehow.
My sister is also transgender. I don't mention it a lot because.
Oh shit.
I don't want to put her on the spot. I guess I don't know.
I didn't know you had a sister.
Yeah, I got a sister. And I started transitioning first before she even realized and stuff. But it's so funny because apparently at one point when she was like 18 or something, she did weed and went like she was just like hanging out with a friend and we were just like laying in like a field or some shit and doing weed. And she went, "What if I'm a girl?" and then started uncontrollably crying.
Oh my gosh. That is how it goes sometimes.
And then never mentioned this until she was like 30.
Oh my god.
I know, like, girl.
Oh. Queen.
Yeah.
Oh. I'm so glad that they got that figured out now.
No, me too.
That makes me very happy for your sister.
Yeah, and it's really, really fun to be trans sisters, Because you can make the joke that we're trans sisters, like in a machine,
Oh, that's cute. That works really well for you, huh?
Yeah. But it is just really, really nice because, you have more in common with your sister, and it's nice.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I've considered that honestly. Like, what if my brother one day is just like, "Hey," That's cool as fuck, honestly.
It's just nice because then you can be there for them with that,
Yeah. I'm so excited when people are like, "Hey, I think I'm trans," and I get to like help them with that. Like, I get genuinely so excited. That makes me feel so good.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's nice. You get to help somebody when you didn't have that level of help before, or maybe you did.
Exactly.
But, like,
exactly. It's like, here's things that I had to figure out for myself or something, but now you don't, because I can just tell you. Pay it forward,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, pay it forward. Oh my god, Sifrin.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, BPD warrior.
What is BPD?
Bipolar disorder.
Oh, yeah!
Yeah. Yes, BPD Sifrin warrior, let's go. I need to play in Stars in Time, my mutual made it.
Oh, wait, are you in chat? Nice. Dude, your avatar is
Oh,
really
borderline.
nice.
My
Very good
apologies.
color usage. Here, get into fucking party.
Hell yeah.
You're already in a party. Okay, well, whatever you want then, I guess.
I have a friend recently who like was like really unhappy with like being explicitly a man, and like they've been hanging out with nothing but trans women for the past like couple months, and we were all like, hey man, like I don't want to like tell you what to do, but I'm getting an inkling of maybe where this is going to go. And it was wonderful, and you know, like I talked to them, and like a couple months later they're on E, and I was like, yeah, let's go.
Let's go. Ugh, so good.
I think people who transition in their 30s are fucking cool as hell, man.
You can do it whenever the fuck you want. It's awesome.
You can do whatever the fuck you want. I was at the city council like meeting for making my town a transgender sanctuary, and there was somebody who was like 55, and they were like, yeah, I transitioned very recently, and I was like, man, she's fucking killing it. She looks great.
Hell yeah. Dude, it's so like I am so aware of the fear of like, what if I don't look good when I transition? And it's like, nah, you're gonna look fucking awesome. Everybody looks fucking awesome. Dude, it's Ivy.
Mm-hmm. Dude, it's Ivy. I was freaking out. It's my girlfriend. Hi.
It's your girlfriend. Hi, Ivy.
Okay, this is probably the gayest I've been on stream. Sorry.
It's wonderful. I'm so happy for you. Also, apparently,
God.
Salty DK Dan is around as well.
Salty DK Dan is around.
I mean, I don't know.
Wait,
If
where?
I don't know if it's just someone using a skin to look like them. But
Where
Lucy
are
says
they?
Salty DK Dan. Someone was assaulting. I see.
Okay, someone was assaulting.
It's someone.
Gotcha. Impersonating celebrities is so that celebrities, big quotation marks. You know what I mean?
Internet celebrities, niche celebrities.
Yeah, it's like if I ran into a Star Magnolia, I'd go, "What the fuck?" You know?
I've been recognized on Ponytown. Like by
that's-
someone
yeah,
who
that's
was like,
happened to
"Oh
me a
my
couple
God, you're
times,
Gunla
too.
Queen. I love her streams." And it's like, that's me.
That's crazy.
Like, it's the crazy thing is that I got recognized. The second crazy thing is that this person assumed that someone else would be cosplaying my character. You know?
Yeah. Let me see. How do I drop items? 1 second. There we go.
There you go.
There we go.
Yay.
Come here. I'm trying to do some. I'm trying
The
to do some gay shit.
gays. How do I express
How
love?
do I
1 million?
express love 1 million?
Kiss many.
Is it? I'm trying to find out if there's like a. I don't know if there's like a macro for it.
What is going on in the bottom right? Well, I see an angry Knuckles. Someone's doing weed and they love their kids.
That's delightful. I'm gonna take a screenshot
what?
and send this to Ivy.
Yeah. What is going on?
I
in
get
the
really
bottom
excited.
right?
Yeah. Okay, so like that's why Ponytown is fun. Because you could be talking and then there's just kind of like idle everything else happening, you know?
Yeah. It's so funny.
I knew a dude who tried to impersonate moderately popular YTP or deeper cut despite being like twice his age.
How would you know? You're horses. I assume we're still
Ponytown
talking
is like
about
trying to have a
Ponytown.
private date in a mosh pit.
What? That's true. That is what
Oh
it's
my
like.
god.
But see, that's what you have like the little islands for that you can go to. But then of course you don't get to people watch.
Yeah. My favorite thing was when I was at Everfree Northwest and somebody started playing Stupid Horse by 100 Gex as like a
Dude.
cover.
Hell yeah.
And I saw a real like pony fan mosh pit form in real time, and I understood that it's just when you get the zoomies. Like watching a mosh pit form in real time to 100 Gex at a pony convention is like a life-changing experience. You watched it and you're like, I get it now. I understand. Everything's been leading up to this specifically.
Oh, I need to be in a mosh pit sometime.
Yeah, I think so too.
Never been to a concert
I've
where
never gone-
a mosh pit can form. Is that whips?
I've never really been to a concert, so we have opposite experiences.
Dude, I fucking love going to concerts. It's so fucking fun. And also now I can't listen to those artists anymore without being like, it's not as good as when it was live. Even though that's like, music quality wise, objectively untrue. Like, it sounds bad when you're at the concert.
Yeah, but the vibe is there, you know?
Yeah, it's all about the vibe. It's
I've always
100%
wanted to see
the vibe.
I've always wanted to see Death Grips live, but I know I wouldn't be able to hear or understand shit if I was there. But it's such a deep like desire in my soul.
I get that. I'm so fucking happy that I got to see the Midnight live. It's so good.
Yeah, the Midnight sounds fucking good. I gotta listen to them more.
Oh, you absolutely do. They're my favorite. I love them so much.
They're in my car playlist now. After
yeah.
the stream.
Hell yeah. Also, there was a Sippy and a Stretchy at some point. It was 6 minutes ago.
Oh. Machine Girl live fucking
Cheers,
whips.
chat.
What's the fucking like
Ooh.
green text? Band called Machine Girl. Look inside. No girls.
Dude, what the fuck? Are they at least machines?
No.
What the fuck, dude? What is the point?
It's fucked. The drummer is? Okay, never mind.
Oh, Stretchy.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to Google something funny.
Okay.
Is there a girl in Machine Girl? Oh, okay. Hold on. One of them's non-binary.
Oh,
so that
nice.
counts.
Hell yeah. Hell you?
The drummer
yeah.
is a cis dude, though.
Well, maybe at the time that Sneal Lord checked, he wasn't yet. Which
True.
makes sense, I think.
Yeah, non-binary counts if they want to.
Yeah. I'm Sifrin. I'm just not in Twitch that much because I'm on mobile. Ah, I see. Understandable. You could play...
Real.
I guess you would be able to play Ponytown on mobile. That's fair.
I saw Machine Girl in Lustig Puppy in London at one point. Everybody was shooting "Fuck the King" based. How do you get items? Oh, you just wander around and pick one up. See, check it out.
Here, I'm gonna eat flowers. Hum yum 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 yum. Eat this. Eat this
Egg.
flower. Egg. Is this
How do I
Color
eat in
Splash's
this
one on
game again?
flowers? I feel like they've been following us around for a while.
There we go.
I want to go to a flower field and eat all the flowers.
I think that'd be really good for you, honestly.
Yeah. I was talking about like in game, but also in real life.
You know, for some reason, my first inclination was not thinking about it being in game.
I used to make flower soup out of what are they called? Daisies. I think.
Flowers.
Oh, look at all these flowers. Eat these flowers.
Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Eat them. Eat the flowers. The tulips.
Consume.
Every single one.
Consume team. Samus, thank you very much for following. Okay, I think we got. No,
These
wait,
flowers
there's still...
don't stand a fucking chance.
Okay, now we got them all. Let's go. Dude, there's still eggs and stuff.
Oh.
Get a
Oh
basket.
yeah, because of Easter.
Wait, you can get a basket to collect eggs. Hold on. Where do we get a
Yeah,
basket
hold on.
from?
Wait, we're on a mission now.
Where do you get baskets?
Probably like fucking
Okay, Lucina knows. Where's Lucina? Also, Sonia at the squishy says, I'm laying next to the torch, but I'm probably gonna leave game to do some programming in a little. Programming is cool and important. Good luck. Hold on, this way.
Okay, we're going to the shop.
The eggs give you hats? I wanna get hats.
Okay, wait, yeah, I gotta go to the
This way. Did I mention I'm color smashes? I don't think I'm into part A yet. You are color smashes. I was asking when I was. There you go.
Am I stupid? Where are you? Hold on.
Where the fuck is that? Nope, that's Mason. BPD warrior. Okay, this up. Okay, this way. Yeah.
Oh, this direction. Okay.
This way.
The stream is very helpful to me, being able to just like track you.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay. Ah, fuck. There's a stupid wall here. Keep getting stuck on all the horses and debris and stuff.
Oh, we gotta add ID to the party.
Me when I'm the molasses flood.
True.
Baskets! Yay! Now fill the basket with eggs to unlock egg baskets on your island. Egg.
Oh my
Egg.
God. Okay. Yeah, this is important. Let's go find eggs.
There's another one here.
Egg.
Egg. What? No, I think I just saw Revolutionary Girl. Damn it. Millie
Wait, why
Bates!
can't I?
Thank you so much for the egg.
Why can't I grab a basket? Hold on.
Oh, what?
Egg.
It's being weird to me. Let me have a basket.
And Compact Coven. Thank you for your egg as well.
There we go. Okay. Are we just on an egg hunt now?
Yeah, we're doing egg hunt. Here's an egg. Acquire. Dude, the Knuckles here has donned a school uniform.
Oh, good for the
it's called
good for the
number one
Knuckles.
Sonic Kisser. It's a very cute little Knuckles.
Yeah. It's an extremely cute little Knuckles. I like the Sonato hater down here. I think that's really good.
What? Where?
Just a little down. I'm next to him.
But
Also,
I
shout out to the
ship
transgender
them.
Amy Rose.
Dude, hell yeah. I love the transgender flag tails. It's so cute.
Yeah, that's an extremely cute touch.
Timbo, thank you very much for following. And Quinn says, Hill, are you someone who related? Someone how related to Celestial Lantern? Because you were recommended to me from her page. Yes, Jackie is my dear friend and the creator of this current PNG that I'm using. Coincidentally.
Oh, I somehow got 303 eggs already.
What?
From last year, I think.
Oh.
Oh, there's a little rabbit. There's a little rabbit
Are you in
here.
here,
Holy
little
fuck.
rabbit? Where are you?
I'm coming.
I'm down.
I'm on my way.
Yeah, you can find me.
Hold on, I gotta switch to a flying horse.
You're right. That is Kern, Ivy. So true. Here, Ivy, you watch the rabbit.
We're the bunny.
The fucking bunny.
The fucking banooey.
Look at it. It's got a little basket where it scatters all the eggs. It's so cute.
That is adorable.
I love this game.
Uh-huh. Oh, I cleaned his little facey face. Adorable. Where baskets? I'm lost too. Baskets are... It's over this direction somewhere. I don't know. Baskets are right here.
I gotta go into flying form.
This is where you can get baskets. So look at the map. This is the harbor, so just go up. What game is this, and is it available on mobile? Also, it looks literally so familiar. You? You look familiar?
Here, I'll play with you in a second, Ivy. 1 second.
It looks literally so familiar. Well, it's called Pony Town. It's pony.town. It's literally just like playable in your browser, and it should be available on mobile as well, because someone else who's in the party right now said they were playing on mobile. You can make a cute little horse. As you can probably tell by all of the people that we're seeing, you have a lot of customizability. It's really, really cool. Oh, this person's a cypress. Very nice.
I lost Ivy. Did you invite Ivy to the party? I forget.
Ivy is in the party.
Yay.
So
Thank you.
Of course. So yeah, Ivy is behind me here.
Yippee! Oh, more eggs. 304 eggs.
It's really hard to look for eggs if you're also constantly looking at other people. Where did my basket go?
Oh, you changed into a different...
Oh,
items are based on your pony.
Oh, right. Hold on, I have to get one for Spectral Queen as well.
Oh, there's like a smorgasbord.
A smorgasbord?
There are many eggs over here, and they keep respawning.
Dude, hold on, I gotta go to where you are. Oh my god, it's Kane from Dream Barbecue, which you don't know yet. Nice.
That was said with such much vitriol.
It's only a matter of
here.
time, Mason. You'll become well acquainted with that game soon enough.
I believe. Oh, bye, Sonia. I forgot to say that forever ago.
Oh, dude, an egg just spawned in right in front of me. And then someone else stole it. You guys are stealing my eggs. I didn't know that was possible. They're not client side.
Ivy said losing me like a baby in Target. Somebody recognized me.
These are mine. These eggs are mine, yes. These eggs are also mine. Every egg is mine. This one looks so soft. This one's called Comfy Memory. Okay, goodbye.
Delightful.
I saw the softest, comfiest looking horse and they just disappeared right as I was like, wow, look at you.
Oh.
I guess they are nothing but a comfy memory now.
Oh, this Fluttershy is really delightful. Oh yeah, I saw Comfy Memory. I just walked by her.
What?
That is the softest looking horse I've ever seen.
Oh my god. Yeah, wait, okay, they just disappeared for like a second.
Let's see here. It's...
If yeah, it's like an accessory, right? Like if you edit.
Yeah.
Oh wait, wrong thing. If you edit horse and then go to extra, it should be there. Yeah, I have a Mooney one for one of my Inaz.
You can create a new plush. Hold on.
Yeah.
I want to do something really gay.
Yeah, are you gonna make an Ivy plushie?
No, what do you mean? And then I'm gonna make the color that. And then I need to make the hair.
It's kind of the most classic move in this game to make little plushies of your partner's pony Sona.
You know, you got me there.
Dude, Comfy Memory's on the move. Dude, Comfy Memory got stuck in a bush. And what it was called? Stump. Goodbye. Yeah, Ivy, you gotta make Star Magnolia.
Yeah, how do I change the color of... Oh, here we go.
Oh, hey, you're good. Egg.
Oh my god, yeah, they have exactly Ivy's hairstyle. That's crazy.
Nice. Egg. Nice. You can double click in a direction to change which ways your eyes point. That's true. Ah, Discord access request. Very well. Aw, dude, I totally have a problem, which is that I'm in streamer mode, so I can't actually see full names. Haha. Do we have any mods in chat? I need to get more mods.
Okay, no.
I'm vulnerable.
You're vulnerable. Okay, no
It's so
tail.
cute when you go to like one of the corners of the map and you see some people just sitting there being cute.
Okay, wait. Ivy, check this out.
Oh, hold on, I gotta see. Cute. That's adorable.
This is maybe the gayest I've ever been in public, I'm gonna be honest with you.
It's very nice. I'm happy for you both.
Oh, thank you. She calls me Macy. Gay.
That's fucking adorable. That's so cute.
It's a really funny thing. April and Ivy both came up with Macy, but with like different spellings independently. So for April it's Maisie with like an S, and for Ivy it's Macy, like Mace, which I think is really funny.
That's awesome. That's so fun.
Yeah. I gotta make a Jade too. I gotta get on this.
Yeah. Anyway, Laser Shark, I'll give you Discord access once the stream is over, if that is all right. Okay, let's go collect some more some more eggs. Egg.
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 Egg. Egg. It's kind of crazy. Easter landed on 420 this year.
Egg. That is true. Can you fucking move? Someone else stole my egg. No, someone else stole my egg. My egg. My egg. My egg. My
Oh,
Eevee.
fuck.
Isn't Eevee there?
God damn it, somebody stole my egg. Fuck you.
I hate that people steal eggs. The competitive scene is fucked, dude. There's people just like camping the egg spawns.
It's all going downhill from here. Turn
Dude,
15. There we go.
What the fuck? There's so many eggs here.
I just stole Indy's egg. Sorry.
No, mine, 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 mine. Okay, cool. Taking this one too. Thank you. I've unlocked the first egg basket. Yay! You can get it from the basket barrel. Wait, so I have to go back there? Try to get the butterfly. That's not what an egg is. Jolene, are you actually just like letting me have all the eggs because I got mad about it?
No.
I was only kidding. Oh, I see. I have the first egg basket because there's a little egg in it now.
Oh, I can...
Us. Oh.
Oh.
Oh, dude, there's so many eggs here. They're all blending in with all the flowers. That's perfect. Thank you, thank you.
There's so many egg baskets available for me. It's a wonderful world out there. Check it out. Look at the cool new one I got.
Ooh, oh my god, with a little ribbon on it. That's so cute.
With a little ribbon on it. With a little ribbon on it.
With a little ribbon on it. That's cute. Very, very cute. Oh my god, I think I'm gonna sneeze.
Sneezer?
Come on.
Yep.
Come on.
Holding your nose like a Scooby-Doo cartoon. Lost it back.
I did it. Update the counter.
Oh, one over here.
Thank you, Polar Stars.
Got that shit.
Nice, nice, nice.
I don't know when I collected 320 eggs before this.
That's crazy. I want to be Sunny Moon for a while. I like Sunny Moon.
Yay!
I need to, like, pay a pony artist to draw Sunny Moon.
Smiles.
Smiles back.
I don't know, that's so funny.
That's just... Smile so sweetly.
Smiles so sweetly. My friend Ken has this thing where she'll go like smiles big and round, and it always fucking kills me.
Big and round. That's awesome.
Smiles big and round. It's so fucking funny. It always kills me. I think Ponytown should have activities like this more often because it means you actually can like do something if you're like a streamer.
Yeah. It's a great way to like facilitate the seeing people and stuff and have something to talk about, and
Yeah.
rage at other people when they steal your fucking eggs.
Oh, mock being nude in Proton Ofnom? Very interesting.
What?
Yeah, this person talking. My Melody MK WIP. Whip.
Macaque being...
Oh, Sun Wukong is over here. Hey, Sun Wukong.
Yeah, I was gonna say macaque, like from... Yeah, this is
Lego
from
Monkey King.
Lego Monkey Kid, specifically.
A monkey
And
kid.
Macaque is
Nice
another
play.
character from that show, so I guess there was a naked macaque a moment ago.
Interesting.
Maybe there's...
I want to
stories.
watch that. The animation in Lego Monkey Kid is insane.
The animation is so fucking good, and it is also just a very enjoyable show. It's got its like children's show, not really challenging what a children's show can be moments, with some of its humor just being kind of like okay.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's really fun. Characters super fun. Summer Kong is voiced by Goku, which is perfect.
That's really funny. They got Sean Schimmel.
Yeah, they got Goku. Yeah.
That's fucking
to voice
hilarious,
the character
actually.
that inspired Goku.
That's fucking hilarious, actually.
I need to see if I can get the whole show because it doesn't get a lot of love, so it's not as well preserved,
Mm-hmm.
I gotta see if I can get the show on hard drive.
True. Scout TF2. Very
Got
cool.
TF2. Nice. It also just like had an ending, which is always nice.
Monkey Kid.
Yeah.
Impressive. Most shows don't have that.
Yeah, it was like 3 seasons and then, or it was either 3 seasons or 4 seasons, and the last season was like a, what's we call it, an Owl House situation, where it's like,
Oh,
well,
shit,
we
damn.
can't do an entire season, so we'll just do 3 episodes that are bigger each.
That's crazy that happened to Owl House.
Yeah, right?
Considering how fucking popular it was.
Yeah, but it was
Oh,
also,
well, we just have to violently commit actionable threats
yep.
that I won't specify.
We all know.
We all know. Egg.
Egg. I got 111 eggs right now, and I'll have more. By the time I finish that sentence, I already had more. There's a Pony Spec Ops team where I am. Wait, do you guys know about that like those communities in VR chat that like are like the VR chat police or some shit? Or the VR chat militia, and they just go around worlds and be like, oh, this is a what are the things that cops say?
Violation of order, whatever.
Yeah, you know, they're like, oh, we're investigating this venue, blah blah blah. I never go into public worlds anymore, so I don't really see that anymore. But that was like a whole thing. I wonder if it still is. They were really annoying.
I was gonna say this sounds really annoying.
Yeah, I mean the concept of having like a whole group of people who roleplay together is cute, you know.
But
maybe not
being
that.
cops lets you, yeah.
Yeah, maybe not that one though. Whoa, wait, isn't this? Wait, no, this is something else. Never mind.
What?
For some reason I thought it was an Antern pony, but it was.
Oh fuck! I would love that.
That would be crazy. But no, it was Deltarune tomorrow.
Oh, I got kicked because I typed fuck.
No, don't swear, no!
I forgot I can't swear.
There's a dead person over here.
That's on me. That's on me. I forgot.
Yeah. I've been there.
God, that's funny as fuck.
You can swear in party chat though. Oh, that's true, I think. Maybe someone should try that out.
Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, you can swear in party chat. Nice.
That's what I get.
It's like Deadpool cosplayers, I imagine. Yeah, pretty much. I remember being at a convention where there was a Joker cosplayer. Like, Joker cosplayers and Deadpool cosplayers are the fucking most annoying people in the world. On average.
This tracks.
Dude. There's a little Rosie DeRascal for a kid.
Yeah.
The Joker cosplayer was just like always being the fucking loudest person, needing to talk to everyone and then like connect their cosplay back to something about their cosplay or like, you know, the Joker. Like, it was never just like, oh, your cosplay is nice. It's like, your cosplay reminds me of that time I fought the Batman. I don't know. And so
Like, man, write character for a minute, dude.
Seriously, please. Or at least compliment the person in character, you know? And just always laughing so fucking loud, like you could hear them across the entire convention hall. It's like, please.
Oh my god! Wait, Ivy just made a Star Magnolia plush.
Ooh. Where's Ivy?
Up.
Oh, all the way over there. Hold on. Let me come take a look at that, if that is okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, wait, here you are.
Oh, somebody said aw.
Ah, yay, smiling forever, yay.
Yay!
Yay, so cute.
Wow, we can make them kiss. Hold on.
Yay!
Mwah. Mwah. Yes, you can show me something else, Ivy. I'm done here.
Cute. So cute.
That's so cute. That's so cute.
That's awesome. Let's see. Megafox says we should replace Joker and Deadpool cosplayers with Toho cosplayers. I agree with that because they would les out.
All Deadpool cosplayers transition into Toho cosplayers eventually. If this world was just.
First they become Lady Deadpool, then they become Toho.
Yeah, first they're like, oh, I'm Princess Deadpool, haha.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, at Everfree Northwest this year, I saw the real Pinkie Pie, straight up. Like, genuinely.
Do tell.
Like, I went to a, like, thing. I'm gonna sit at a picnic table for a second here so I can explain this without trying to walk around.
Sure, sure.
I went to this, like, lip sync contest, and I swear to God, this person shows up, perfect Pinkie Pie cosplay. Like, Equestria Girls style, it looks amazing, you know?
Nice.
Fantastic stuff. She sings Pink Pony Club by Chappell Roan.
My god.
Right? It's perfect already.
Uh-huh.
While she's doing it, she brings out a rubber chicken, throws confetti, and makes a balloon animal on stage while she's singing.
What?
I know!
That's
And
amazing.
when she's in, like, the melancholic part of the song, where she's, like, reminiscing about her family, she pulls out a rock and stares at it.
No.
Literally the coolest person
My
ever.
god, that was Pinkie Pie.
And I talked to her later, and she was like, oh yeah, I'm a clown when I'm not doing cosplay. No, I was like, that's the real Pinkie Pie.
No way! That's incredible. That's the coolest person ever.
Right.
How the fuck?
Like, insane. You're a clown professionally, and you dress up as Pinkie Pie, and you did the best performance I've ever seen, and you're super chipper outside of it. Like, holy shit.
Oh my god.
Literally the real Pinkie Pie. Like, I could not get over it.
Uh-huh. That fucking rules so much. That is so good.
Yeah. She was so cool. I got a picture with her, but, like, I didn't want to post it without her permission, but I forgot to get her permission, so I'll have to ask my friend who knows her. Just
Dude, that is
insane
also
to me.
just like Pinkie Pie, because Pinkie Pie, like, has connections to everyone.
It's true, yeah. Pinkie Pie always knows a guy.
Yeah. It's a slogan. Because it rhymes.
I know a guy. I'm Pinkie Pie. We know this.
I also... This is not horse related or anything, but I like when you see a cosplay of a property like that you think nobody else gives a shit about.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you like that too? Like, I've unlocked the second basket. There's a game series called Darksiders.
Oh shit.
Do you know that?
Hold on. I do know Darksiders.
Oh, nice. I like
remember
it.
it got a review for the Wii U in the last issue of Nintendo Power.
Oh, nice. Yeah, Darksiders too. I like that series a lot. I think it's really cool and fun, and has some really nice creative ideas.
Hell yeah.
And I once went to a convention, and there was someone cosplaying War, the player character from the first game.
War.
War. You play as the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse in it. Whoa, this one looks crazy. A polluted bat. Okay. And the thing about War is that he's got like a cool big, like giant claw gauntlet with an eyeball in it.
Oh fuck yeah.
And this person had put like their iPad inside the gauntlet with just like a looping video of like a demonic eye looking around.
That's so sick.
It was so cool. Like, not only is this person cosplaying a thing that I never see any love for, but they went to such extremes with the cosplay. Like, are you kidding me?
That's so sick. That's so fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of the iPhone, like, constantly playing the, like, demonic eye. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm. Really fucking sick.
Mine is dedication.
Mm.
I love when you go to like a themed convention and there's people there who just are not on theme. Like I went to Everfree and there's just somebody who was Tifa from Final Fantasy.
Dude, wonderful. Love to see it.
And I was like, that is my favorite MLP character, Tifa
Yeah.
Lockhart.
Of
It
course.
was a great cosplay. She killed it.
I bet. It's really funny. Like Tesla is mentioning Ren fairs. Ren fair this weekend. I'm so excited. Yay, have fun. Last Ren fair, I got a pair of fairy wings. I'm excited to get to wear them this year. That's so nice. There was one here a couple weeks ago. I wasn't able to go, sadly, but God, I want to go again. I love Ren fairs so much. It's like my favorite type of convention to go to now.
Hell yeah.
But speaking of Ren fairs, it's so funny to go to Ren fairs especially and see things that aren't like on theme, because it's like, yeah, like medieval fantasy stuff. But a lot of Ren fairs these days also kind of like cater to adjacent things like pirate stuff, and maybe there'll be like a bit of a feudal Japan fantasy type section.
Ooh.
And then there might be a Mad Max apocalypse thing.
Whoa.
And
I don't
you
like
can
playing
also
dressed
show
up.
up with Homestuck cosplay if you want. It's fine. It's so funny to me.
I heard
What
about
can I
Tifa
say?
and Fainted. That's real.
That's real.
I just adults like playing dress up.
Yeah. And we
It's
don't get as
fun.
many
It's
opportunities
fun.
for it.
Yeah. Like the fucking really funny thing to me is that like people are like, oh man, why is D&D so popular these days? I don't know, man. You get to play pretend with your friends.
Yeah,
You've always
pretend
done
with
that.
friends.
It's fun when you're an adult.
Yeah, there was no reason to stop doing that, actually.
Yeah. It's just a good excuse to.
Yeah. I was saying, like, adults don't get a lot of reasons to dress up these days. I say as a goth person who does it every day.
That's why you're cool.
Hell yeah, dude. And it's so funny to me because, like I said I don't think I said it while we were live, but while we were setting up the stream, I talked about how I had a birthday this Sunday of a friend who's moving to Japan, so sad. And I mean, I wish him all the best, but you know, sad to not see them IRL as much. And we had a friend group of 7, and we all show up, and I'm like, okay, big day, big important, special birthday day. I'm gonna dress to the motherfucking nines. I recently got like a new choker secondhand with a black rose on it. Very nice special tights. I go all out with my makeup and stuff. So nice, so good. Everybody else is just sort of in like jeans and stuff.
Many such cases.
Yeah. And I don't blame them. It is just really, really funny to me. You know, the image this creates of 6 normal people and an evil witch, maybe?
It's like that one image of like Pokemon villains where it's like 5 guys in a suit, 1 wizard and another guy in a suit.
Yeah. Exactly.
Which like I wasn't really knowledgeable of Pokemon, so I googled it and I went, oh yeah, no, that one guy is just a wizard.
Like one guy, yeah, that's just a wizard. It's like they're all just sort of businessmen of various degrees, and also there's a wizard.
And also there's a wizard, yeah.
Also, good job on getting all the egg baskets, Sneal Lord.
Yay!
Do you have any idea how often I want to wear a wizard's cloak? Kirakat, you simply can do this. I wear cloaks all the time.
Yeah. Nobody's gonna stop you.
Yeah.
And if they do, that means they're a loser.
Yeah, that means they're a fucking bitch. And you're legally allowed and obligated to harm them.
Yeah. They wrote this in the Constitution.
Yeah. But they don't mention it often because they're scared.
Yeah. That's why judges dress like that. You know what's really funny to me is like I dress up, and the reason I dress up is so that I go outside, which I think is really funny. Like in the winter when I was feeling bad, I would go, you know what, I'm gonna dress up kind of goth, and I would, and it would mean that I was like, okay, well I have to go outside now, or else I waste this outfit. By staying in my room.
That's true. That's true.
It's literally the best tactic for getting yourself to go outside. Spend time on yourself, and you go, oh, I have to go out and show this off.
Yeah,
know?
exactly. It's very effective.
It's extremely effective, because as an adult, that costs money, you know, and time.
Yeah.
Which you don't have a lot of, so you might as well use it effectively, right? You know?
Exactly.
I say as an adult with probably the most amount of time somebody who's employed has, you know?
It also just
well,
helps
no, I
me...
do a lot of stuff with my friends and have obligations, so I take it back.
It also helps, like, even if you're not gonna go outside that day, it just helps me be more alert, you know?
Yeah.
If I'm not just sitting out in my pajamas and slippers or some shit, but instead in my cool, nice dress that I have.
I changed into a full outfit today for the stream, even though, like, I could have just done this in my pajamas easy. Because it was like, oh, well, I need to be alert and, like, hanging out with my friend Zoe and feeling good. So I'm going to dress up in my nice new jeans and my fun new, like, Fantasy Farm t-shirt I like a lot.
Hell yeah. Well, see, that's exactly it. Like, I dressed up today. You know, it's like that meme where it's, like, the funeral or whatever, and then Deltarune release or some shit, you know? It's like
my dad's funeral.
Yeah. That's like me today. Just like playing a Cyberpunk TTRPG by myself.
Fuck yeah.
I was just sitting around rolling my little dice in my nicest outfit.
My friend leaving for Japan and playing a TTRPG by myself, and it's the same image.
Yeah. Oh, shit. No, that's exactly it. Also, dude, we've been going for like 3.5 hours, and we started an hour later. We should probably call it quits at this point.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, like, we've been at this for a while. I was thinking of heading out so I could get some food.
That's a nice Terezi. Oh, dude, I didn't realize y'all fucking swap seats to Homestucks. Hold on. There we go.
I can do this. 1 second. Here's my Homestuck fit.
Let's see it. It's Lord English.
If you think about it, it's kind of like the lollipop mode.
Yeah, it's
trickster mode.
Trickster mode, yeah. Also, Snealor, the other baskets, I think you get them by interacting with one of the barrels with baskets in them you can find around the world. This Vriska's like 5 years old. Damn, still looks nice though.
That threw me off for a second there when you said you had to make a jade because that's my girlfriend.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'd never made the connection ever.
Huh. Oh, sippy. Cheers. Also, Yuzu, I'm afraid you are not just in time for Homesick Ponies. Like, technically speaking, yes you are, but also we're about to head out. I will, however, put your egg on stream. Also, hi, Bun. Oh, and a posture check and such as well.
Hello, Dynalo. Oh, so true.
And Dr. Rudicino, but thank you for your egg as well. I got this distracted making ponies in the editor. I didn't realize that you guys are ending. Aw. That's alright.
Here, wait, come on over so that you can say hi before we end.
Yeah, say hi-bye and maybe show off your horses.
Yeah.
But yeah. This, that'll be it. What a good thing that the Thomas Was Alone stuff was so short, so we had a lot of time to hang out in Ponytown together.
Peanut butter and chocolate. Ponytown and Thomas Was Alone. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Perfect combination. You go from like the most minimalist characters to all these extremely intricately...
the most maximalist.
Yeah, to all these extremely intricately designed horses where you're like, how the fuck did you do this with the editor?
We went from alone to the least alone you could possibly be in an online space.
It's kind of shocking that there's only two other horses on screen right now.
Oh my god, yeah, hold on. We didn't make Thomas.
Oh yeah, we forgot to make Thomas. No.
Hold on, I'm gonna make a Thomas super quick because it's kind of easy to make a Thomas.
Yeah. Oh wait, Ivy's here.
Yeah.
I never made a murder drones. Wait, didn't I? I thought I did make a murder drones. Huh. Strange.
Yep.
I need to
No
make
hair.
my murder drones
Bald.
OC.
Tail, none. Face. None.
None.
Unlock that color. It's also, you'll never guess.
None.
None.
I'm learning.
Yeah. And then eyelash color, you'll never guess. None.
None.
There we go. Here's my Thomas.
You still got like hair on the back of your thing, but
Oh fuck, he's got a balding spot.
yeah, and also you can still also change the color of the snoot, and a bit of the eyes to be the same color. You can also
gotta do
change
that.
your outline color to be the same color and your shading color.
Oh, I gotta do that. I couldn't do it in time. Also, hi, Vimp! Oh my god, hello, you're so cute! Vimp Pony. Oh, wow. I'm gonna switch off of Deeply Unpleasant Travis McElroy Pony 1 sec. Oh, it is so cute! What the fuck?
Aww.
Sorry, I'm just admiring my
So
girlfriend's cool little art.
No, you're allowed. You should.
Alright, I'm good to go.
Alright. Wait, did you make Thomas, or are you gonna do it later?
I'll do it later. I'll do it later.
Alright, okay.
I'll show you my Thomas later.
Yes, okay. Alright, so this will be the end of the stream. Thank you guys so much for coming. I hope you had a great time. Mason, thank you so much for coming and co-hosting. I love you. You're so fun to hang out with.
I love you too. You fucking rock, and I'm glad you're my friend, Smiles.
Yeah, me too, Smiles. Back.
Needs to commission you for horse art. Would you like to do a little self-plug while I look for a raid target?
Sure. I am Punkit. I make comics. I've got a Patreon where you can follow me and find some fun exclusive art. I make films. I write stories. I make comics. I already said that. I'm currently working on 2 games, Season Taxpayer, which Ivy is a developer, which Ivy is a part of. And I work on Astrogard, which is a spacefaring little RPG about making friends in space and fighting a hive mind that has a demo coming out sometime in the next couple months, which I'm very excited about.
Oh yeah.
We put a lot of heart and soul into it, and I hope Zoe plays it. So
I can't imagine I wouldn't.
Ivy's also working on it. Ivy's working on a lot of stuff with me because she's cool. Yeah, follow me. You can just Google me. I just show up. I'm on basically anything you can think of. Except TikTok, since I have ADHD. And
Oh my god, I just realized that Chet that entire time has not been hearing the game audio.
Oh shit, really?
No, you guys have just been sitting having no music. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Chat. Here.
Google Punkit boobs now. True. And I wonder if anything would show up. Hold on.
Wait, no, they have been hearing it because I'm good at my job. Yay!
If you Google that, the very first thing is somebody asking CMYK boobs on Tumblr. Very cool. Very cool.
Cool. I have been Josephine Gone the Queen. I hope you guys had a good time. You can find me as Gone the Queen anywhere and not everywhere because I'm not everywhere. But if I'm there, it's Gone the Queen. I just got a new follower. It's Spurtuechara. Thank you very much for following.
Super True Char?
Super True Chara, maybe, yeah. Sure. Sprite True Chara. I assume that's you.
Oh, I see.
Thank you for following. I will be back at some point, and that point is in 2 days when I'll be finishing Wavetale, which is a
Ooh.
very, very nice creative little indie game. I really like what it's going for. It's got a good atmosphere and music. So come on, hang out for that if you want. Wow, cool. We are going to be rating Mark Toto, who is playing Sonic Adventure 2, but every tip randomly affects my game, which should be a really good time. Mar is fucking hilarious.
Sorry, I had to cough.
I'm sorry, that was really funny.
I didn't mean to.
That was really fun. It's like a single, just cough. It was really good. Oh, okay. Anyway.
I want to see that again. I didn't need to hear my cough. I'm gonna clip that.
If you guys have any raid messages, let me know. Otherwise, I would suggest... Let's see. Mason, do you have any suggestions? Horse...
Thomas ain't alone.
Let's horse Les out.
Yeah, let's horse Les out.
Let's
I was
horse
like, wait,
Les out.
Les out. We've been saying this all night.
Yeah, dude, Les out. I love Les out.
Mar is so cool. I always think Mar is a Kirby, though.
I mean, yeah, Mar... It's really funny that Mar is just so clearly just sort of like a Kirby thing. But it isn't.
Yeah, okay. So
It's Mar.
It's... Okay. Okay. So it's not just me.
No, it's not. It's not. I don't know the exact origin, but I'm pretty sure it's like a Kirby thing originally.
Awesome.
Like
That's
inspired
cool.
or whatever. Anyway, thank you guys so
Hell
much for
yeah.
coming. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Yeah, Mar used to be Kirby. Yeah, exactly. All right. See y'all. Bye-bye.
Bye.